leaping over a deformed section of sidewalk whilst trying to avoid a crevice or something that shouldn't be there. Anyway, lucky for me, there are copious amounts of white paint plastered on the certain areas so that I can make out these imperfections before I hit them. When I finally get to the overpass at the top of Finn Hill, I have to slow down and put my steed into first gear and climb onto the bridge. There are no sidewalks on the bridge, but there is, or what used to be, a white line, which I presume represents a bike lane or pedestrian lane. Either way, it's the only way for people to cross the overpass. While the white line was virtually disappeared due to vehicles, i.e. Walmart trucks, pickup trucks, automobiles, and etc., running over the white line as they leave the ramp off of Highway 3. There is now a 2-foot high fence, concrete fence, each side of the bridge, but there is no railing to stop people from falling off onto the highway below, and it's a long way down. Anyway, I continue strolling through Walmart and Home Depot, and then I come back. Finally, I reach Viking Way, coming back, whereupon I push the magic silver button and wait for the light to change in my favor. I can now venture across the street with my butt raised, and I fantasize that I'm galloping over hills and valleys, but really it's the gullies in the road that vehicle wheels have made over the years. It's a real, and I'm almost done. Okay. So I'm almost home now, but first I must say, the best part of my journey is when I cross the road onto the new crosswalk ramps. They're wonderful. I feel that I'm on cloud 9, and the transition from the blacktop to the sidewalks is beautiful. It's like I'm floating on air. Those guys need a raise, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr.
It's the
Austin.
best thing that happened in this town for a long time.
Thank you, Mr. Austin.
You're welcome. Oh, my cane, my cane.
Oh, yep, don't forget your cane.
Don't forget my cane, 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 cane,
Okay.
cane, and cane.
Okay, comments from citizens. Okay, I'm not seeing, oh, here comes someone.
You want a name and what else?
State your name for the record and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Harlan Harris. I am a member of the Poulsbo Rotary Club. And you opened the meeting talking about how Poulsbo is a place where we all get a chance to be all of whom we want to be and choose to be and can be, and that you're a place where you affirm that. Well, I know that for many of us in the room, the one thing that we want to be when we grow up is artists Morrow. So on the eve of her birthday, I hope you will indulge me in singing a rousing happy birthday to artists.
Go for it.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear artist. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Harlan. Comments from citizens.
No.
Hi, I'm Yves Paulet, and I am part of Rainbow Crew Northwest, which serves to connect the queer and regular communities of the Clallam, Jefferson, and Kitsap counties. And I want to thank you all, because I understand you're going to be voting on the pride flags on Front Street. And I want to thank you for starting the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Because as much as people talk about what is woke and what is DEI, I'll tell you that DEI is just a really awkward way of saying with liberty and justice for all.
Absolutely.
You know, I wish that that's what we were using, I think the problem with DEI is that some people don't think it includes them. Well, let's start saying liberty and justice for all. And I want to thank you all very much.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Pam Keeley. I'm from Lions Park, also from Poulsbo for All. And I would like to second that gratitude for support of upcoming Pride Month in the city of Poulsbo. And we're looking forward to seeing the banners up again. We're looking forward to full-throated endorsement and support for all of the people in the Poulsbo community. We appreciate that. We have been having weekly rallies, as you know, on behalf of democracy down at Front Street and in Waterfront Park. We have enjoyed support from some of our council members. We look forward to seeing more of you down there with us to support democracy for everyone. We have been around and talked with the shopkeepers at least twice, and the vast majority of them are extremely supportive. We've heard their stories about their issues with tariffs and new custom charges and impact, and they are very happy to see people out sharing their voices about the radical disassembly of our government and the systems that we have depended on for a long time to take care of each other. So we are happy to know that we will be gathering in Pride. We look forward to the flag raising again. And I guess that's about it for now. Thank you.
Comments from citizens?
Hi, everybody. It's an honor to be here, just to be able to see you all, and
Can you state
thank
your-
you.
sir,
My
can you-
name is John Gustafson, Gustafson. I'm a proud Poulsbo resident. I'm also on the board of directors of the Washington State Nurses Association. I'm also helping a lot of different things throughout the community. But I can tell you that I was here last year with the pride flag banners and requests. I mean, I saw what people were doing. And unfortunately, when people cut those, it hit my heart. So I can tell you that when they were talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's something that I live with every day. It's really important to have that type of community where everybody works together. People are kind to each other. They're supportive of things such as Pride Month, really powerful. And last year, everybody did a good job, and it was beautiful. So from that, I just wanted to share what I feel, and I work with that every day, and I want to help with the inclusivity of our community. It's really important. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Patrick Wright. I'm also with the Human Rights Council of Kitsap. And I will say I've been a proud resident of Poulsbo for a very, very long 9 months. But as someone that works for the newspaper and is involved in so many different avenues, my favorite thing about Poulsbo is that we are diverse, we are inclusive, and when we have a disagreement, we work through it. I'm so proud of how the downtown merchants have worked with different organizations with the rallies that are going on. And I know for a lot of us in our community, we're feeling a little bit scared because there's a lot of things we don't know. What I do feel confident in as a trans person here in this community and a community leader is that I can look at every single one of you and know that you all are open to have a conversation, to learn and to grow and to fix. So as we think about what's going to be happening with Pride and all the fun things that are going to happen with these banners, we're not going to have any issues this year. And I'm sure Pam will be down there to ensure of that with the dance parties, which you all are all invited to. And I just wanted to share my gratitude for each and every one of you guys. And that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone else coming to the podium, so last call for public comments. Seeing none, we're going to move on with our agenda. The next is mayor's reports and council comments. Mr. McVeigh, how are you this evening?
I'm very good, Mayor. Thank you for asking. It's great. Thanks so many of you for coming down this evening. It's great to see so many Poulsbo Rotarians here to support Artis Morrow. I have a brief story to tell about Artis a little bit later when we honor her. It's great to see so many members of Poulsbo Pride here tonight. Thank you for joining us. Other than that, I'm going to save the rest of my comments until we get to the agenda. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Eckert?
Hey, good evening. Thank you everyone for speaking. Always like to see a room full. Attended a couple of Representative Nance's town halls this past weekend. And it's very interesting. I like to go when he has them in multiple places to hear the differences in the different communities and what they talk to our representatives about. And so I went to Bremerton and then also here in our city hall. And it was amazing that other than one individual who came to both and asked the same question, there was virtually zero overlap in what the two communities talked to them about. And for, we're not that far apart. We're not, there's things we're all concerned about, but again, almost no overlap in what folks talk to our rep about. So I like that. I like to hear that kind of civic engagement, and I think he does too. I'm going to get ahead of myself and assume that we're going to approve the banners tonight, because I think we will, and I don't think that's even a question. It was brought up about what happened last year, and I'm just going to say that folks in the community, if you don't agree with the banners, that's your right, but leave them alone. I know the way that the city adopted the resolution about public speech, anyone can come to any one of us and ask to have something flown, some kind of a banner of free speech. I know I've had zero requests. So I don't think we're leaving anybody out. I think we're representing members of our community that have asked to be represented. I've engaged in talks with Suquamish. We haven't got to a point where we can fly banners for Suquamish yet. We're still working on that. But again, if you don't like it, you don't agree, that's your right. But leave them alone. You don't have to. They're not going to hurt you. They're not going to affect you. Just drive on by. Okay, that's all I'm going to say on that.
Thank you, Mr. Eckert. Mr. Tabor, go ahead.
Good evening, council. Thank you all for coming. It's amazing and exciting and great to see our community show up to these meetings for a myriad of reasons. Really proud of our community. And just for me, one update, next council meeting. So next Wednesday, I'll be at Cafe Cocina at 3:30 if anybody wants to come talk about anything. So 3:30 to 4:30, I'll be there to talk about parking, rent, housing, anything. So just putting that out there, and then I'll save the rest of my comments for the workshop.
Thanks, Doug. Ms. Crowe?
Good evening. Thank you so much for your comments. And it's wonderful to see a model of the desired passion that we should have for one another as a community. So I also feel a little, that I lost out on the privilege of knowing Artis Morrow and the way that many of you seem to know her. So I hope to do some catching up. I'm looking forward to celebrating this amazing woman. Thank you.
Ms. Lipsdale?
Hi, I echo what my colleagues have said. Thank you all for being here and for those who shared comments with us. It's always really appreciated. We love a full room. We really do. I originally met Artis when I was a barista at Starbucks, and she came in every day, and I made her coffee for years in a row. And I knew way back then how amazing she was. So none of this is surprising. And I'm just so thrilled that she's still here and has continued to do all of this important work. And I feel honored that I'm sitting here and can share in it with all of you. And I want to congratulate my colleagues who have filed to run for positions on this council. It's filing week at the county, so if you're still thinking about it, you've still got a day to put in for it. So that's all. Thank you, Ms. Lipdell. Mr. Noel.
No, it's great to have the sun shining and us out and about enjoying our city, and thank you for participating in our community and make it stronger.
Thank you. Mr. Stern.
Thank you, Mayor. I know in a moment from this dais, the mayor and the council are going to be celebrating our own beloved artist Morrow. And I know everybody in this room shares that love and appreciation of this remarkable woman. What I want to do is pivot just very quickly. It's been 3 or 4 weeks since council met, and there's been a host, Mayor, of gala, function, auction dinners. Some of us have tried to attend most of them. There's one in particular I'd like to call out, and there's a reason for it. And I think Charlie Thompson's here from Fishline as well. This was the program for Welcome to Fishline's Give and Grow Spring Gala. And it was at Kiana Lodge, and it was something of a remarkable event, in my opinion, and I think I can speak for Mr. McVeigh, because one of our own had the courage to take the podium and be the keynote speaker and share her own story of hardship and her family's story of hardship growing up here in Poulsbo. And if it wasn't for Fishline, she just shared from the heart. And I want to say to Councilwoman Britt Livdahl, I lift my hands to you. It was remarkable sharing and vulnerability. And thank you for that.
Okay. I have 2 proclamations to do this evening, so I see people pointing. Ed, you want to hand? Yeah. Would you hand that down? This is artist speaking. This is artist listening device. Okay. So, and I'm known to be soft spoken. So can you hear me, artists? Okay. All right. The first proclamation I have this evening is in recognition of Asian American and Pacific Islanders Heritage Month. And so I'm going to do that one first. So proclamation, whereas we want to recognize the contributions and influence of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders Americans to the history, culture, and achievements of the United States. And whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders communities continue to make valuable contributions to all areas of Poulsbo, including business, arts, and sciences, government, medicine, education, and law enforcement. Whereas groups like Asian Pacific Directors Coalition were established to influence and advocate for policies, systems, and investments for the benefits of Asian American, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander community and other communities of color. Whereas, as we observe the achievements and contributions of the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders that enrich our history, society, and culture, subsequently, we need to acknowledge the challenges and struggles of the AANHPI experience in America, including structural discrimination, prejudice, and injustice. And whereas, in recognition of Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders Heritage Month, we honor AANHPI individuals and organizations who live and work in the city of Poulsbo, improving the quality of life for all. Now, therefore, I, Rebecca Erickson, Mayor of the City of Poulsbo, Washington, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the city of Poulsbo, and encourage all citizens to join me in recognizing this important initiative. This is for our Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. So now, artists, this is for you. Can you hear me? Are you ready? Okay. This is a proclamation honoring artist Jensen Morrow with celebrating the remarkable milestone of her 100th birthday a century marked by life of deep purpose and extraordinary service. And whereas artist Jensen Murrow lived through the hardscrabble years of the Great Depression and World War II, during which time she married Bert Morrow and raised two sons. Her dedication to family soon extended into community engagement, beginning with her work on the executive committee of the Boy Scouts of America for Alaska, Montana, and Washington State. And whereas artists' commitment to public service only grew stronger over the years. She served as PTA president and legislative chair, was a member of the chair of the North Kitsap School District Board, where she was instrumental in founding Poulsbo's original Marine Science Center, and went on to serve as Kingston's Port Commissioner, as well as president of numerous civic clubs and community organizations. And whereas drawing a lifetime of leadership and advocacy, artists turned personal tragedy into powerful change after her great-grandnephew, Eli Creekmore, was killed by his father in 1986, a time when the state of Washington lacked sufficient tools to prevent such abuse. Artists worked tirelessly with the state legislature over several years to enact critical reforms, culminating in the landmark Eli's Law. She then led efforts in Kitsap County and through the Poulsbo Rotary Club to create and support proactive domestic violence programs, short-term emergency shelters, and long-term housing solutions for victims. And whereas, in recognition of her tireless advocacy and transformative impact, artist Jensen Morrow has received numerous awards, including the 2002 Poulsbo Chamber of Commerce Person of the Year Award, the 2003 YWCA of Kitsap County Women of Achievement Award, and the prestigious 2006 Washington State City Club President Jefferson Award. Now, therefore, I, Rebecca Erickson, Mayor of the City of Poulsbo, Washington, proudly proclaim the week of May 8th as Artist Jensen Morrow Week, a time of tribute and gratitude for a truly extraordinary woman whose legacy continues to inspire. And I have one other thing for you. First of all, I'll give you that back, or maybe I'll, could you hold it? Okay. This is a plaque, and it says, Artist Morrow, on your 100th birthday, a key to our hearts with gratitude, appreciation, and gratitude. Thank you, artists, for everything. You're part of the artist, whatever.
Okay. Can I do it? I can see everything.
Okay. It won't come up.
Yeah, well,
No, it doesn't come up. Yeah, that would be better.
sure.
That works.
Want to thank everyone. It's such a surprise. A surprise I lived this long for one thing. And I can't walk, but I can't hear, but I love you all. And by way of thank you, I'd like to just take a few minutes to say a favorite poem of mine. Today upon a bus, I met a lovely girl with golden hair. She was so bright I envied her. I wished that I was half as fair. And I watched her as she rose to leave and hobbled down the aisle. She had one leg and wore a crutch. But on her face a smile. God forgive me when I cry. I have two legs and the world is mine. And then I stopped to buy some sweets. And the boy that sold them had such charm. I thought that I'd stop, chat a while. If I were late, it would do no harm. And he said, "Thank you, ma'am. Well, it's nice to talk to people like you, because you see, I'm blind. God forgive me when I whine. I have two eyes and the world is mine." And then I stopped to watch some kids at play. And one young man stood back from all the rest. I went up behind him and I said, "Hey, buddy, why don't you go in and join the rest?" And he looked straight ahead without a word. And so I knew he had not heard. I have two ears and the world is mine. God forgive me. God forgive me when I whine. And so, now, anyway, I'm so blessed indeed. So God forgive me when I whine. And if I have done anything while I'm here, I hope that I've made a difference in the life of a child. Thank you.
I guess while we're in interim adjustment here, I'll add a quick comment. You could easily tell who were Rotarians in the room and who were community members. Because as artists came to the microphone, the Rotarians covered their ears, thinking they were about to hear another early Friday morning Ribble tale.
Okay, I think is it okay to move along with this? I want to call your attention to your teal folders too, folks. There's some communications from our citizens that you should receive and you can read at your discretion. And with that, we are going to move on to board and commission and outside agency reports. I have a bunch of things that that I need to report on, but I would rather do it when we're at the workshop, if you don't mind. Does anyone else have any board and commission and outside agency reports? Mr. Stern.
Just to report to my colleagues, because I represent them on the Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council. It met yesterday afternoon in Bremerton. I think the key takeaway was the formal adoption of the accessory dwelling unit preset plans that our own Heather Wright was instrumental in writing for the 4 cities and the county, and that they're going to be shortly available for the public to pick up reduced cost, streamlined permitting, small housing to help with our affordable housing situation, Mayor. So just to note that for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Stern. Okay, if there aren't any, you know what? I gotta have another chair. This keeps sinking.
And while she does that, I'm assuming we haven't heard back from Suquamish about scheduling our ad hoc with them.
been working on that, and I think we'll have something here before summer.
Yeah, I was reading that proclamation for artists and I was sinking into the carpet. Very, very disturbing. Okay, with that, if no more border commission reports, okay, then we're gonna move on. There is no consent agenda tonight, so we're gonna move on to the business agenda. And the first is the Pride Flag banner display and request, and this is Britt Lifdahl. Can you go ahead and talk about this? And because I don't think Mike's here tonight, is he?
Brooks, do you want to help me share this real quick? Try to make this quick. So this is for the Lindvig Pump Station contract award. Our Lindvig Pump Station is one of our sewer pump stations down by Liberty Bay Auto. And it's a 2-pump system, so 1 pump and 1 redundant pump. And for a few months now, one of the VFDs has been burned out, so it's only been operating on 1 pump, which is not what we want for a sewer pump station, so it's pretty critical that we get this fixed. We believed it was the variable frequency drive, which is 20+ years old. The other one was replaced within the last 4 or 5 years. But we hired electrical contractor parametrics to kind of suss out and confirm that the VFD was the issue so that we could put a project out there and replace the right component, not the wrong component. Just a little bit of background for you. Our estimate was about $100,000 and we had 1 bidder. We put this out on the small works roster to a couple of local contractors. Bainbridge Island Electric came in with a bid of about $85,000. And so we feel pretty confident in awarding that to them. The budget for the project, we were intending to fund this from the $75,000 annual pump station fund that we identified, but that was missed in the budget for last year, and we were going to add it as part of the mid-year adjustment. So a budget amendment is necessary to totally cover the cost of this work. So the $75,000 intended to be in part of the budget, and then a $60,000 additional budget, total $135,000 from the sewer fund. Important to do, and entertain any questions and a motion.
Go ahead, Mr. Tabor.
Thank you for presenting on this. Just out of curiosity, what would happen if both pumps failed?
Public Works would bring down a trash pump and connect it to the sewer lift station. And it's noisy, requires a generator to operate. Not super easy to get in there. Much easier to keep the pumps running. So we have a redundancy for our backup, but it's not ideal.
Thank you.
Mr. McVeigh.
This sort of reminds me, I was out of town for several days and I read about the latest sewage spill we had in Liberty Bay. You know, the health department's great about notifying us when those happen, but it never says anything about what the cause was. So do we know what the cause of that was?
Maybe Charlie has more information, but it was definitely in the county, and people were pretty upset. I think it has something to do with their construction project. Charlie, do you have a little more information?
Yeah, so it was kind of the last step of the Johnson and Norham project, which is down in Lamolo. It's the county-led project that the city's paying for. And one of the last steps was to kind of flush out the line and pig it. And my understanding is that a valve was closed or opened, and it kind of was an operator error, and there was an overflow because of that. So,
okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, it has nothing to do with what you're presenting, but I have a question about the sewage spill. I'm assuming there's a fine for that? Or, oh, okay. All right, that's okay. I'll connect offline. Just curious.
I'm not sure.
As I said online, no one wants a sewer spill, okay? It was a mistake, accident, something broke, something happened. We try everything in our power to keep the sewage in the pipes and not in the bay. So it's very unfortunate, and that's one of the reasons why this is important. This thing needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed now, and it is over our limits without a budget amendment, without council approval. So, okay.
I think one of the other things with just like sewer systems is when you're switching from one system to a new system, that's kind of when issues occur and when things happen. So when they're running and operating, generally nothing happens. So.
Okay, any more questions for Charlie?
Yeah, I do want to make a smart comment about this is what happens when people leave us and go to the county, but
be nice.
I know, I'm going to be nice. I'm assuming this is, when it comes to sewer projects, this is actually fairly cheap in terms of cost, but I'm assuming there's no budget implications. This fits in with what we planned for.
Yeah, we'd set aside $75,000 annually for exactly these types of things, kind of upgrades to equipment that is aged out. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'd entertain a motion if there's anything.
Yeah, I'll be happy to make a motion, Mayor.
Okay,
Move to award contract for Lindvig Pump Station Upgrade Project to Bainbridge Island Electric in the amount of $85,447.46, and authorize the mayor to sign on behalf of the city, and authorize the mayor to sign change orders up to $10,000, and move to approve budget amendment number 25-0204 in the amount of $135,000.
Second.
motion and a second. Any more questions or conversation? Seeing and hearing none. Mr. McVeigh?
McVeigh, aye.
Eckert, aye.
Tabor, aye.
Throat, I lived all that.
Newell, aye.
Stern, aye.
Thank you, council. And I want to say that I'm really appreciative of the county project. They're doing really good work. At least that's my understanding. I think Charlie and Josh are here and they will substantiate that. And they are important partners. So, and I'm not just saying that because Christine and staff is in the room. I mean it. Okay. They've been very, very good partners. So, okay. On to the 8th Avenue Realignment Safety and Transit Study Grant Acceptance. This is Josh.
Good evening. 1 second here and I will share. Okay, this one's been around for a little while, so you guys may have heard that we received a grant for our 8th Avenue realignment study from PSRC Rural Town Centers and Corridors grant application a couple of years ago. So we're here tonight just to really formally accept the grant and authorize the mayor to sign that grant agreement. So just to give you a quick overview, it is a planning study through the Rural Town Center grant funding opportunity. We were awarded $311,400, and our match is 13.5%. So we are putting in $48,600 of traffic impact fees to match that. We will be studying some different realignments for 8th Avenue, coordinating with Kitsap Transit for a mobility hub there, looking at their long range plan for bus rapid transit as well. And then we'll be looking at complete streets, incorporating that into any improvements that we do there, and looking at the intersection and pedestrian safety. So again, it gives us an overall budget of $360,000, and we are nearing obligating the funds with the goal of advertising for a consultant selection this summer. So these next couple graphics are just a couple graphics that we submitted with the grant application. And so these are some ideas of what we might look at during this study. This doesn't mean this is what the solution is, but these are some things that we will look at as part of the alternatives analysis. So this one here just shows where Kitsap Transit is out there on SR 305. And potential, again, for some different alternative solutions of how we can improve the safety and intersection mobility.
Josh, can you go back to that previous graphic?
Yeah.
That one, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Are you guys understanding where this is? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get rid of one of the craziest intersections in the city.
Yeah, we are trying to get rid of one of the craziest intersections in the city.
Yeah,
It's the longest crosswalk I think I've seen.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Well, I'm not gonna say that. It's the crazy intersection.
so Josh, if we, let's just say we did this, you know, this drawing held up. What would we do with that old segment of 8th Avenue?
That's a great question.
It's a dead end.
There's a culvert there. It could be opened up. It could be a pedestrian bridge. You know, there's a lot of different things that we'll look at as we look at the different alternatives.
Okay, but it's a good thing we held on to the Coffee Oasis property, it looks like, right?
Well, it gives us some flexibility for sure.
Yeah.
I know,
All right.
I guess we'll get into this as we study more, but I guess my initial concern would just be that the potential future farmers market was gonna have this as their parking. And parking's already a little bit tight there, so I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, we will definitely be considering that because, of course, we want safe access in and out of that farmer's market. So
Right,
any sort of improvement here will, look at that future use as well.
okay. Thanks.
Okay,
So at the end of, what we're doing a study, Josh, at the end of the study, what will you be coming back to present to us?
So we will come back and present the different alternatives that we looked at, and then the recommended alternative that comes kind of to the top of the list, and a rough cost estimate and a plan of how we might be able to move forward with that in future funding applications and things like that.
Okay, and a possible timeline. Right, thank you very much.
okay, we have Mr. Stern and then Mr. Eckert and then Pam.
Thank you, Josh. I was not part of the Complete Streets Committee work, and I appreciate everyone involved with that. This is more general, but I'll ask it because the question's before us. We identify pedestrian safety. It's in the title of the grant. Being a bicyclist myself and trying to navigate the city, it gets problematic in places, both the corridors for it and the visibility thereof. As we do these kinds of improvement projects, not just here at 8th, but in others, can you just briefly share with us how bicycling multimodal is worked into it, or how we're approaching that aspect?
Just to clarify, are you referring to a roundabout in particular or just in general as a whole?
In general.
So, I mean, as part of the Complete Streets, we did look at active users, active transportation for all modes of travel. And so any project going forward does take that into consideration. And how do we accommodate all those users? Also, which do we want to prioritize as, let's say, for example, a bike route? Do we want every street to be a bike route, or do we want to pick the streets that we want to improve and enhance for those bike routes? And that's what we looked at as part of the Complete Streets, to identify the different routes to kind of make our primary focus.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, Mr. Eckert and then Ms. Crowe.
Yeah, one of the things we looked at is trying to find a good solid bike route on the east side of the city to take you down the hill and across 305. And we didn't really find a clear winner that kind of came out. So it's going to have to be a compilation of choices. And yeah, Britt's concern, I kind of thought of that as well, because just a couple of weeks ago when the farmer's market relocated for the one weekend to the other side of the lot at Gateway, and they used Public Works parking as kind of their primary parking for that day, it highlighted the concerns about this intersection to me, because they had to have flaggers out to get people across, and it was a little rough. So I like that we're looking at that area again. My question was gonna be, I know, like you said, we do have work around the culvert there. So tying the two studies in, and then the area that's the yellow area to the right of where the red ends, kind of as we get up to 305, which of the two studies, or is it going to be a combo effort? Like, which one's going to be the more appropriate one to look at that part? Because I think there's some restriction there now, but if we cut off the road that exists now, we might be able to widen, and that gets into some of the safety issues that Ed's talking about. But I don't know which is the appropriate one to be looking at that, because there is hard stops to that side, the sides of the roads now. I know we're getting detailed, but that's a lot of work to change that part of the road, I know, because of the culvert. So is the culvert the better study project for that? Is this the better project for it? Or should it be a joint effort to get
And
this?
that's why he's the engineer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm just.
that's why he will do the balancing act, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to maybe speak to that just a little bit. So we are just getting going on the culvert analysis and design. And so the timing of this is great, so that we can try to provide some sort of overlap and coordination between the two efforts, so that we don't design something that's not forward compatible with any solution that we want to do with this. Either way, we know that the culvert needs to be replaced with a fish-friendly culvert. And so, you know, that's what'll come out of the culvert design. And then as we move forward with this study, we will look at how that impacts that area as well.
All right.
Okay, so it sounds like it's going to be a combined.
Well, two separate contracts, but we will be coordinating as we go forward, yeah.
Okay, I have Ms. Crowe and then Mr. McVeigh.
In reference to pedestrian safety and where that crosswalk to eternity is at, I just am curious if there's gonna be maybe some revisions in reference to that crosswalk, or if there are pedestrian singles a part of the plan, or is too early to tell on that?
Well, it's too early to tell what the solution will be, but I'm positive that there will be a change in the pedestrian route right there to enhance that crossing.
Okay, and then Mr. McVeigh.
Thanks, Mayor. Josh, if any redesign we do follows approximately your drawing here, it looks like we would be needing to demolish 2 to 3 homes. Is that right? Do we own those homes?
Well, I mean, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. because,
Okay.
I mean, we haven't done the survey and this is, you know, as cartoony as you can get.
All right.
So
Who owns those homes that are in the
those are
picture?
privately owned homes.
Those are privately owned homes. Okay.
Haven't gotten there yet. This is more schematic. This is like,
Well,
You know what
I
we do.
understand, but okay, thank you.
Yes.
all right. I think we need the study. We demonstrates that we do need the study. So, this is the motion. Would anybody like to make a motion? Go ahead, Pam.
Move to accept the $311,400 in PSRC Puget Sound Regional Council grant funding, authorizing the mayor to sign the grant agreement on behalf of the city.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or conversation? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. McVeigh.
McVeigh, aye.
Eckert, aye. Paper, aye.
Crow, I.
Lived I.
No, I. Stern, aye.
Thank you, council. Now on to the final business item, which is the Knoll Road Segment Consultant Contract Supplement, and this is Josh again.
Yes, thank you. So you guys may have heard the good news that we have started construction on our Knoll Road North segment. So we're excited to have that underway. We just started this week, actually. So part of any construction project, we need to have materials testing to go out there and test the dirt or the rock and things like that. And so that's what we're here tonight, is to add on that supplement for our consultant. So just to really quickly highlight the project, I won't go into too much detail, but this is the area between Knoll Messford intersection north to Lincoln along Lingonette and Maranatha in the Keepas Pond area, and then a small segment of shared use path connection down near Poulsbo Elementary School on Knoll Road.
Those are really big boxes.
They are a little big.
Okay,
yes,
I was gonna
yes.
say, just took half my property, but go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't see any of Andre's bright green lines on that map, and I appreciate that, John.
Right. So just to capture the schedule really quick, we did hold a community meeting on April 17th to talk about the construction as it was getting ready to gear up and start, and answer any questions and concerns about some of the construction impacts and sequencing and things like that. So as I mentioned, they have started this week. Next week, we'll start to see some of the clearing and grubbing. And then the following week, we'll actually start to see some pavement removal. They're starting down near the Poulsbo Elementary School in order to prep to do the work once school gets out for the sidewalk work on their property. We do anticipate construction to be complete in the summer of 2026. So again, this is just for the materials testing piece that we're looking to add to the parametrics contract. They are looking to sub and hire Otto Rosenau and Associates to do the materials testing. It comes out to $141,000. And as I mentioned, they will be doing our compaction testing, our aggregate testing, any concrete testing, and some additional materials testing that's needed for the project. And those are required for us to ensure that the contractor is meeting the contract specifications and the WSDOT standards. And just a reminder, our construction estimate is in the $11 million range. So with this supplement, it would bring parametrics construction support contract total to $887,000 and some change. And this is currently in our budget, and so no budget amendment would be required. With that, I'd entertain any questions.
Mr. Tabor,
I'll go ahead and make a motion.
go ahead.
Move to approve the parametric construction admin contract supplementation number 1 in the amount of $141,000 for the Knoll Road North segment and safe routes to school project, and authorize the mayor to, the deputy mayor. Yep. Authorize the deputy mayor to sign the contract supplemental on behalf of the city.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions or conversation?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for planning the park by the school around the school year.
Yes.
Mr. McVeigh? Okay, we have a motion and a second, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You have a question?
I do have a question, but it's not related to this action. If I could reserve that for a quick question after we pass the motion.
Okay.
Related, Mayor.
All right. Then motion is second. Mr. McVeigh?
McVeigh, aye.
Becker and I.
Favor
Pro I.
Lived all I.
Dual aye.
Stern, aye.
Thank you, Council. Now, Mr. Stern, did you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor. So I reported out on Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council and restricted my remarks during board and commissions to the accessory dwelling units. But as the mayor will bear testimony to, both representing Poulsbo and as president of the PSRC, not an insubstantial part of our conversation at KRCC, Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council, was related to state and federal budgets. We had a good chunk of the top staff of the Puget Sound Regional Council in attendance with us in person. After we got through the state budget, which unless someone has a question will pass, came up the federal budget specific to transportation. And there was a relatively short but very important conversation about federal abrogation of existing contracts that have already been signed and sealed, if not in the stage of delivery of the project, being canceled. And hopefully we'll be in great shape here. But whether it was Bremerton or Port Orchard or Poulsbo, we asked the question generally, what if we're involved in a federal transportation oriented or involved project, which phase 2 and phase 3 are, and we're implementing it in good faith and the federal government abrogates the contract? Mayor, is there anything else you would add? It's just part of the report out on KRCC.
It's, it's good that we're obligating these funding as quickly as we can. And these are relatively small dollars, relative sense. But it's a mess. And I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen. Actually, as I said, I'm not as concerned about the transportation dollars as I am about the HUD and Medicaid dollars. Those are the ones that really frighten me. And the transportation dollars are, we can backfill. Most jurisdictions can, they have to take cuts in other places, but the cash flow would be sufficient enough to backfill and if not replace, almost replace a lot of these funding mechanisms. But the HUD dollars for the Section 8 vouchers, there's 900 Section 8 vouchers, 900 apartments in Kitsap County that depend on those vouchers. And there's no way in heck we have that kind of money to subsidize those, let alone the Medicaid. Medicaid in the Washington State is AppleCare. Anybody on AppleCare, you're on Medicaid. Okay, so those are things I'm more worried about. This, while is a lot of money to us, it's a drop in the bucket compared to what we're really dealing with. So I'm sorry, I can't be friendly about this. I can't be optimistic. It worries me. It really does.
If I may turn to Diane, it was a lot of federal expertise. We were hearing of projects that were being canceled midstream. What are you hearing, Diane? Is there anything else in the field? Is it coming more nationally at this point on these federal transportation contracts?
I had a meeting with the Public Works Directors of Washington State a week ago. There was only one project that had lost funding, and it was actually state funding that was swept. It wasn't at the federal level. And that's in the world of transportation. I think the concerns were more in the world of human services.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, it's not, the transportation dollars aren't nearly as I think in jeopardy as are the human service dollars. So, trust me, we will let you know if we hear anything other than that, okay? Okay, that's our last business agenda. You guys want to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Yes.
We'll rejoin at 6:20, 10 minutes. We got one more minute. One more minute.
That is amazing.
All right.
So we will find a meeting that I don't find anything. I was told this weekend, but I could do some comic relief. No, I got told this weekend. Depending on where you are in the county.
Okay, guys, let's start settling down and move along here. The next thing on our agenda is city administrator and department head comments. Rob.
Good
you?
evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Just wanted to start off this evening with a little bit of trivia. We just talked, I know, isn't that exciting? No, but just one of those things that I think most of us may not realize when it comes to rural town centers funding through PSRC, that we just talked about relative to the 8th Avenue Realignment Safety and Transit Study. There's really only 2 jurisdictions within Kitsap County that are eligible for that funding, that being Poulsbo as well as the county relative to the Kingston urban growth area. So just a little bit of trivia to start this evening. And I also wanted to let you know that 6 of your city staff and leaders are currently attending a 3-day FEMA training. And nothing says fun like FEMA, but this is our ICS 300. And that's the Intermediate Incident Command System for Expanding Incidents. So we, as part of our embarkation on focusing on emergency management and making sure that we are up to speed, we are trying to get everyone that needs to, or playing key leadership roles, who would be called upon and activated in the EOC or the Emergency Operations Center, should an incident occur, when an incident occurs, that we are ready and able to do that. Also, just wanted to let you know that in a couple of weeks, your city engineer, Josh Rains, and I will be representing this city in Washington, D.C. As recipients of the APWA. APWA, I was right. Yeah. Award for the Knoll Road project and the Johnson Road roundabout. Just wanted to let you know we will be there and advocating as part on behalf of the association. Legislative reception, probably will be doing hopefully a couple of visits with our delegation members, et cetera. So, yes, sir.
2 questions for our city administrator. Number 1, Rob, you referred euphemistically on the federal grant, but why is it only Poulsbo and County are eligible?
It's a population factor, I believe, in or census tracts. So,
and then, okay, and then number 2, just to point out, the current edition of the Squamish News that comes out, they just adopted a very detailed emergency response plan. And I was wondering if some eyes could be put on that, Dan or yourself, and see if there's areas of overlap, cooperation, otherwise to take advantage of synergy.
Oh, and there definitely, I believe, not to speak for Dan, but there are already conversations. He's connected with the Squamish tribe, with Bainbridge Island, and other practitioners in emergency management to definitely make sure that we are collaborating and coordinating. And then the last is really a question for council. It would be, would you, now that the legislative session is over, I know that Brian McConaughey came in sort of mid-session to sort of give you the council a sense of where things were going, but now that the dust is starting to settle, would you like to have him come back to do a debrief? Thumbs up. Okay.
How much does it cost?
It should be part of what we already are, yeah.
Does anybody know if the deadline's passed for the governor's signature? Is it still pending?
No, I think it's still,
It's
he's
still-
still within his 20 days.
Okay, all right, thanks. Anything else, Ron?
No, that's it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Diane, anything?
Just a couple of things with my building official hat on. I want to let you know that we are in the final weeks of sign off on the Eliason building. We have obviously signed up on Viking Culinary, and the rest of the building will be signed off on very soon. It has been inspected, and they've done a great job on that building. It's quite nice. So that's good news. Another thing I wanted to let you know on behalf of Josh is we will have another streetery downtown next to Wine 42. The parking spot next to that in front of the new wine store will have a streetery. It appears that it's going to be very nice. It'll be a platform with a fence around it, and it will not have a roof. But that is in the process of final approvals, and they'll be building that. I have spent the day with the city administrator and the chief of police learning a lot about emergency management, and it was a good day. We got 2 more to go though. So we'll be gone for a couple days, and then I'm here next week, and then I'm taking a little trip to Portugal, so you won't see me for about 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So anyway, just to give you a heads up.
Mayor, with your permission, may I share a Diane Linnea story? She is a paramount professional. There's very little to ever poke fun of or make note of. But we toured the Eliason in various groups. You were there, Mayor, Britt, you were there. So I ended up with Diane Linnaeus as we worked down to the lower street commercial level. And we were walking into the new commercial store, Viking Culinary.
Yeah.
And she was mumbling to herself. Now, Diane never mumbles to herself. So I kind of pulled in tight, and I overheard her saying, Mayor, did I approve of this? Did I sign off on the permit?
Welcome to.
I'm sorry, it's true,
Yeah.
but we had a lot of conversations, and I leaned over to Faye and said, did I actually sign that? She assured me that I had. She knows better than I do.
Yeah, welcome to the rapidity of city government. Sometimes you have to ask those questions, like, did I do this? Yeah, been there. Deb, go ahead.
Just, good evening. Just want to let you know that our financial statements have been submitted to the state auditor, and so those are in draft form. They have started our state audit. We did reach the level of requiring a single audit, which is the federal audit for grants. That level is 750,000, and so we had some pass-through grants that did that. And on the other note is we just did receive notification from Government Finance Officers Association that we received the budget award this year with a special recognition for the capital program. It's very subjective. Some years we get it, some years we don't, as far as the capital program, but we've been receiving the budget award for several years. So I will keep you posted as we go on. Thanks. Team effort.
Yep.
Not to be outdone with the words, but mine are we're a little smaller. We have 2 community grants that we received. One for the pollinator program from Rotary, so 1,000, and another 1,000 to upgrade our senior programs in the kitchen. So we're continuing kitchen upgrades, and we have a lot of momentum with our senior task force. Next week, many of our staff will be going at the annual WRPA conference, Washington Recreation and Parks Association in Kennewick. So you may not see a lot of folks around. If you didn't attend the Rotary Memorial ribbon cutting, we were expecting 75. We had 250 people who showed up. It was incredible and amazing and touching, and it's being used. I drive past it frequently, and people love it. Earth Day was a big hit. So thank you everybody who came down to Earth Day. Arbor Day was great to recognize the Garden Club. I'd also want to say that we did work with Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance to sign off in support of a grant they're putting in the RCO for trails maintenance. I want to give a big shout out of thanks to Diane, Mike, and the mayor for getting it across the finish line while I was away. What it does is Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance added our Poulsbo pump track to one of the eligible sites for reimbursement for maintenance. That should make maintenance a lot easier for Evergreen to get reimbursed for that. And they put this request in with a 3-week notice to us, and we were able to rally around and get it done. So we're really thankful, and thank you, Diane, and everyone who helped with that. Also joined Councilmember Newell a couple weeks ago with Poulsbo Yacht Club. I'm not stealing your thunder, am I? Do you want to do it? And I'm tired right now. And so we met with Poulsbo Yacht Club to explore a coordination. I am a little bit. To explore collaboration to offer community sailing programs and to expand those, but by working together. So it was a very fruitful first conversation. More conversations are going to be needed, but we're glad we're starting this conversation now and looking towards early next year. And then last two things. If it's not on your calendar, the ribbon cutting for Play for All is this Saturday at 10 a.m. So please put that on your calendars. I'm not going to say how many people are going to show up since we were wildly off in the last one. And a very big thank you to Public Works, especially Josh Jones. He put together office renovation for our growing team of recreation specialists. So now we have a place to put our specialists. Those are our casual labor folks who do gymnastics, or they focus on sports, or they focus on fitness and health and wellness. There's now a place for them to grow and to get that work done, which is great.
Hello, Mayor, Council. I just wanted to make you aware of a decision that I made that will affect Viking Fest that you may hear about. Some folks may not appreciate it, but in concerns for public safety and recent events that have occurred at other public gatherings, I made the decision that we need to make hard road closures on Front Street from Sunset to 3rd, Friday evening from 4 p.m. till Sunday, 7 p.m. We'll keep that street closed for that entire time. In the past, we've opened it and closed it and opened it and closed it. But with the number of pedestrians and the soft target that presents for folks that have ill intent, it just is not something that we can do. So if people are angry, my decision, that's what we're going to do.
Any questions for the chief on that? I think I totally support you. It's
Yeah.
safety first every time. Mr. Eckert, what?
Yeah, I just, from my prior career background and it comes to events like that, I think that's the absolute right call, chief. That's the best way to make everybody safe.
Who's next? Anything? Just a couple things. I want to talk about the community meeting on the 17th with the kickoff from Knoll to Maranalco was really well done. Josh. Where are you, Josh? There you are. Okay, we're starting Knoll North, is what I'm saying. It's going to start proceeding forward, and that is from Messford, okay, all the way to Lincoln, that whole length. And there was a large community meeting on the 17th. It was well attended, and our engineering staff did a really good job. Also on the 17th, I was honored to go to the Suquamish Elementary with North Kitsap School District and cut a ribbon at their new gym, which was part of their levy last, which was a lot of fun. Jeff talked about Earth Day on the Rotary Memorial ribbon cutting, which was amazing. It was very cool. There was a large community meeting on the 21st where a new development is coming in called the Pinnacle. And we filled the fire station. It was filled with people. This is a large property on 305 as you're between Baywatch and Johnson Parkway. It's a big, very large acreage going up the hill, a new development that was doing their mandatory community outreach. Had some pretty unhappy people at the meeting. And so I'm hoping they're going to go back and sharpen their pencils a little bit and make a little better job of the presentation or the neighborhood itself. But
So
go ahead.
with relation to that specific item, traffic concerns, we spend a lot of effort to make Knoll Road and the roundabout down there, Johnson Parkway, to support development on that side. I think all of us, and I think you made comments to the fact that the connection to Baywatch presents an opportunity to dump a lot of traffic into an intersection that's got challenged sightlines even on a good day today. How can we or the public participate, since that is a state, it's 305, where are those opportunities for us to express concern and affect the design if that does dump into Baywatch, which subsequently would be dumping a lot of traffic into Baywatch and 305?
You know, we have something called the 305 Corridor Committee, and it talks about connections onto 305. I know that Commissioner Rolfus has worked for a long, long time to work and get funding for Seminole Road, which is one of those
Right.
roads that also is very troubled. You know, we still haven't gotten Taunton done at the intersection. So these are all state dollars that we need to program into that 305 committee. This particular connection, yes, there will be a connection through Baywatch, but it'll also connect up to Crystal View up by Robb Park. Okay, it'll go up there and it'll connect down to the Johnson Parkway. It'll connect multiple places. So maybe not as much traffic through Baywatch as you might want to.
Well,
I don't have the traffic count. So.
I just, people have a tendency to go downhill
Yeah, they do.
when they drive. They don't typically turn around and say, hey, I'm gonna go up. And if traffic's heading towards Poulsbo or O'Haver or Highway 3, they're gonna learn behavior for the 100+ houses. You know, there is truly quite a bit of potential impact there. I get it with the legacy roads, the Tottens, the Seminoles, but here's one where, as part of the planning process, working with the state and the county, what can we do in our role as government to help, you know, drive to a safe solution that works for our community? I guess
I'm not an engineer, okay, but I think that we need to do more right-in, right-outs and no left-hand turns for one thing.
yeah, I
but-
think that's at a minimum that should be a right in, right out.
Absolutely. So, but stay tuned. This is the first step
Diane
of that
would like to say
process. Diane's behind me and she's waiting.
Josh could answer the question, but the applicant will do a traffic impact analysis as part of the preliminary plat process. And I think that you'll see that it takes a very close look at where the traffic will be going. And then engineering can evaluate that based on what they provide.
And as I said, this is the first step. This is neighborhood meeting. They don't have true design about what they're going to do.
Right.
This was the first stab. And so, but I wanted you all to be aware of it because I felt it was pretty contentious, didn't you think? It was a pretty contentious meeting. So just so long as you know.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say staff did a great job at that meeting, because there was some pretty contentious folks there and had some real concerns. And yeah, it's a really, really loose design right now. One thing that was interesting is there was one family that highlighted a concern currently in Baywatch in that they have kids that get picked up there by the school that because of the current design of Baywatch, the bus can't pull into Baywatch to pick them up. So their kids get picked up on 305. That's where the bus stop is right now. With the connection of the new development, no matter how it plays out, there's the potential that the bus can now pull in to Baywatch, pick the kids up, drive through to the connector and get that bus stop off of 305. So there are definitely challenges there, but there are also there's potentially some opportunities that this could present. It just has to get designed right. But yeah. I really did want to call out staff because there were definitely some folks that came to that meeting. Unhappy and not prepared to be happy.
The Housing Kids App, we're switching gears, Housing Kids App, we're all very concerned about the HUD vouchers. I think that goes without saying. We don't know yet. We don't know what's going to happen. And so Heather Blau, who's the executive director, is on top of it. She's going to alert everybody as more information becomes available, but may you live in uncertain times. The same thing goes with the Puget Sound Regional Council and federal transportation dollars. We talked a little bit about that, but no one really knows what's going to happen. The uncertainty is extremely expensive and dangerous for people. It's really hard, but until we get a little better guidance, we just don't know. And let's see, we had a beautiful ribbon cutting in Indigo Plum, brand new store on Front Street. It's been terrific. And I think that I had a meeting with Sanjay Bhatt, who is the marketing person for Kitsap Transit. And I want to figure out how we can market our 344 a little better, our bus that goes round and round and round. And we used to be wrapped. It used to be really pretty little bus, and then the bus died, so the wrap died too, you know, and so we can't, that wasn't a good plan, but we got to get more people on our little bus. It is the least used route in the whole of Kitsap Transit. And I'm afraid if we don't use it, we will lose it. So stay tuned for that conversation. Good town hall with Greg Nance. He did a great job. That
Is there a sponsorship type opportunity to rewrap the bus?
Well, the problem with wraps is they're permanent. So if you have any kind of problem with the bus, or the bus needs to be rebuilt, or the bus goes away, you lose the wrap. So it's always a short duration, maybe not a good idea.
I'm saying, I mean, you know, if it was something that we could, they, you know, if we were willing to cover it, they would do it to encourage, you know, the use of Poulsbo's route. But I don't know, you know, they also can't move that bus to another route then, because it's decorated for us, but.
I think maybe a better opportunity would be for better bus stops that were better marked, the stops themselves with bigger signs, brighter colors, because that's permanent. And, but anyway, I'm working with Sanjay to get some marketing for transit. Go ahead, anything?
Yeah, I think having people know that that's a local transit bus, that's not gonna take them to, you know, out of Poulsbo. Is essentially just gonna take them around Poulsbo, and like making that more obvious on the bus stops. And I think I would use it more probably.
You know, wonder if we painted all the bus stops really bright orange and teal. That's what their colors are. You know, and put flags on them and stuff. I mean, anything to draw attention to the bus.
I'd be interested also if in your discussions with Kitsap Transit, if there was a way to negotiate or at least understand what it would take to make it free. Easy on, easy off. You know, is it a big number or is it a number? I think it'd be warranted for us to at least understand what that would be.
Okay, we'll talk about that offline. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, that's all I have. Questions and concerns of the city council. What's going on with you guys? Britt, go ahead.
Okay, here's me. I'm taking off my council hat and I'm putting on the HDPA hat. Excuse me, Historic Downtown Poulsbo Association hat as the beautification chair. Here I am. It feels like I was just here. And unfortunately, we've had kind of a devastating blow so far this season. It felt like everything was under control, getting things ready to beautify downtown with refreshed flower pots and hanging baskets and watering contract to keep them all alive. That was all in order. And then unfortunately, the landscaper who has done it in the past and who we were prepared to be contracted with for this season, unfortunately reached out and has a serious health issue and will not be able to do it. So we're definitely, you know, keeping him in our thoughts and hoping that everything goes okay. But that means the city is back to watering for us. And unfortunately, that is extremely expensive. It was more expensive last year than the HDPA could really reasonably afford. I mean, it was paid, but the difference was substantial from what we're typically used to paying. Usually we pay $12,000 to $13,000 for a May through September watering schedule. And it's every day. It's one time, 6 or 7 days a week, ideally, to keep everything healthy. We're used to paying, like I said, 12 to 13,000 for the season. Last year, I believe it was 21,000 or 22,000, 24. Okay. Mike ran the numbers for how they will have to do it through Public Works this season. It will all have to be overtime, and it's looking like the estimate's about 32,000. And that just won't work for the HDPA. I mean, the budget's just not, like, we've talked about this before. Dues are the same as what they were in 1987. And I know that it sounds like, oh, well, increase them, but it's not that simple. And the HDPA is working towards trying to increase dues to what makes sense. But we all know what inflation has done and what costs have done. And $32,000 just to keep the plants alive, not to mention pay for the plants to begin with.
Is this an ask?
It's an ask.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
do we want downtown to look nice? I understand there's some concerns around fairness and how it works for the rest of the city. But this is where we are. Go ahead, Gary.
So a couple of questions.
Imagine.
I might be willing to entertain sort of a temporary arrangement. I know Denver and others.
Can I wait?
Are-
I just want to say one thing. Just,
Okay.
the HDPA is trying to find somebody else to do it.
Yes.
It's not the city.
And I want to
Just
give them
so
a
you
chance
know.
to do that.
Yeah.
I just saw some appeals go out
Yes.
within the last day or two.
Right.
I can't imagine that if the rate you're proposing to pay is somewhat competitive, that a local landscaper wouldn't want to jump on that for.
It takes some specialized equipment.
Okay.
Which is the issue. Water.
So because I'm assuming all the plants are there now, right? So they're gonna die if they're not watered?
Almost. I mean,
Okay.
baskets are there and the annuals.
I
are
might
on
be
order.
willing to consider something temporary. My question then would be, well, help me understand, why would Public Works have to charge overtime? Is that just because they're so busy doing other things, or?
There's that. They don't have the same person power that they had like last year. Last year, I wish Mike was here, but I can't reiterate
Yeah,
why exactly.
I'd
but
like some more
they don't have-
information about that. I
It's
just,
partially the timing. It has to be done early, very early before there's traffic.
And it's on the weekends. It's every day.
It's every day. So,
okay.
yeah,
It's gotta be every day. All right, that explains it.
are there any other questions?
I understand this one, these are already bought, and this may not sound like a serious question, but looking forward, is there a reason we keep going with live flowers? I mean, is there something maybe not live that can be looked at in the future to replace, that this doesn't continue to be a problem?
No, I mean, not really. No.
I mean, is there some other desk or, I know some fake flowers look pretty fake, but there's
They
others that look
pretty
better,
fake.
cause this, a couple years in a row
Thing
now.
is, I mean, yeah, even fake flowers might last a few years before sun damage. They look terrible and they just end up in a landfill. And frankly, I can't abide by that. So.
Yeah. Well, they don't even necessarily flowers, if there's some other
Right.
decoration. It just
No, I
might be
mean,
worth
the alternative
investigating.
is we just don't do it.
Yeah,
Like, that's
investigating
what it
some
is.
other way to beautify that this doesn't continue to be a problem year after year.
Okay,
How
so-
about if I propose, Mayor, that I don't know if we can do a head nod of approval for Public Works to do it for the month of May. So we give HDPA time to try to find a more permanent solution. Does that
I don't
make
think
sense?
there's any other choice. The
There-
flower baskets.
Guys,
are
yeah,
up
I
there.
mean.
Yeah.
It potentially, I mean, this is an initial
It's
conversation.
our
This has to come
downtown,
back.
it's on our light poles. It'll be noticed if they're missed.
It'll be noticed and frankly, you don't want to take them. I mean, you don't want to get rid of them.
Gary, I support your initiative.
Okay, so, okay, through the month of May,
And you can
head
put,
nods.
yeah.
I'm saying,
Yeah, go ahead.
does this need to be a budget amendment? Like, can we do this as a head nod, or does this need to
No,
come back?
no, I'll bring the budget amendment back, but before we bring it back, it'll
But
be
you
okay.
can start before then as
Yeah,
well.
Okay.
you can.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, in that case, then, yeah.
Okay, Pam?
I just would have a clarifying question. You said that Mike did some calculations of what it would be for the city to do it. And in those calculations, is that water and stormwater utility rate increase part of that calculation process?
Oh, it's just.
No, that was
it-
just the labor.
It's just the labor. They have to do it very early in the morning. It's 7 days a week. You have to have a special truck. It takes about 3 guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
expensive.
I just was curious. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on that? Okay. Is that it?
Yeah.
We got through May.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
May.
what are we gonna do at the end of May? I guess is my concern. Then they die? I mean, they're usually last through September with care.
Why don't you talk to Sean Olmsted and see if you can find somebody?
Okay, so we tried this last year though, so I'm gonna be blunt. Unless somebody decides to start a business right now in order to help water our flowers, we're probably not going to find anyone else in time. I'm gonna be really upfront. We're trying and I want to find somebody else, but somebody will have to invest in the appropriate equipment. And right now, there hasn't been options. And the gentleman who was going to do it said he would try to help. But last year, when we didn't get in on his schedule in time, I asked then, is there anybody else, anyone you can think of? And he didn't know of anybody. So it's problematic. So going forward, we're gonna have to have some serious conversations about what we want our downtown to look like going forward, because it's not sustainable this way.
You were next, and then Doug, did you have a question?
If we're still not on this topic, but
Yes.
if we're still going around.
Doug, do you have anything to say on this
Just
one?
for next year, there are lovely succulent hanging flowers that are drought resistant. Just throwing that out there.
Okay, might be an idea. All right, so, all right, we're still in council concerns. Who has another one? Okay, Doug and Doug. Okay, Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. In the Department of Commerce Behavioral Facilities Capital Budget, first saw it in the House budget, now it's in the compromise budget of April 26th. There's $18.5 million for something labeled as the Poulsbo Substance Use Clinic.
That's the tribe.
Just, I'm asking questions. What is it? So is this money that the Suquamish will be using to do?
Yes, it is. It's for an opioid, it's an OTP center that it's been allocated to the tribe. It's an OTP center. It's been allocated to the tribe. We've sent a letter to the tribe that they have to cite it as an essential public service, and we haven't heard about timing. I'll keep you informed as I know more.
And I know we've been talking informally that this may be occurring, but since this is now in there and our representative is touting it, I just trying to be able to be responsive so we as a community know what this is.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a big grant.
We should be able to get a copy of the grant proposal, or the legislative proposal. I mean, there's got to be something in writing that describes, I would hope the legislature
I
would
can-
allocate that without some
You
sort
can
of
ask those
description.
questions, but it is for an OTP. It's $18.5 million, and it is for the Suquamish tribe. Okay?
And
That's
on
what it
be-
is.
on behalf of the mayor, I have reached out to the tribe and we'll be setting up a meeting with key personnel there to learn a little bit.
And I appreciate that. I know it's just from the standpoint of now this thing's making headlines in papers.
Yeah.
You know, kind of building on what we were talking about with 8th Avenue realignment, and ongoing discussions about the desire for our community to be outside enjoying that, both from a standpoint of our parks, but also from the economic activity that we see downtown. Big digging around a little bit, going back to our 305 market analysis study. You know, one of the things that identified in there is that the recommendation, the first line of it is clarify what city leadership and residents want this area to become via sub-area planning process. If the city wants the area to become walkable mixed-use place, goes on to examples. We talked a lot about mixed use from a standpoint of a housing zoning perspective. But there is the other component of which is there a local improvement district? Is there a road improvement district? We could look at rethinking how all the way from the library to the north end of Poulsbo Village operate. There's empty office spaces, at least 15,000 square feet. We've talked a lot about underutilization of Poulsbo Village, but I think it'd be warranted either through, you know, the initiative of the 305 or, you know, a couple of the policies we have in our comp plan, whether it be under the economic development, I think it'd be warranted for us to say, is there a different way to align this to look at it systematically and not at the parcel level? I could also,
What we want in that area.
what do we want and how do we create that? And how does that connect to the rest of downtown? So we get people out of driving from parking lot to parking lot in there, because that's what effectively we have. But we have Centennial Park, we have the old Public Works building, we have the library, which is a community gathering. We have underutilized space on, you know, what could all of that look like going forward to help create more places for us to gather outside? I could use similar discussion with regards to Viking Avenue. I've mentioned a couple times, it's 5 lanes wide for about a half a mile. It doesn't need to be 5 lanes wide. That's back when we didn't have Highway 3 is when that got expanded, you know, can we put it on a diet? Can we take 2 lanes out?
I agree.
We have a couple of breweries over there. We have a couple of markets. We have fish line. We have some underutilized property that could turn into gathering spot.
We've talked, it's just a question of funding.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, and I guess I'm asking, it's on Front Street and Anderson Parkway. How do we get to the next step of doing something, whether it be sequential or we create options to go after it, you know, design study, funding, something where we start that process and going forward.
We've had the complete streets study. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I would even say Poulsbo Village, that let's extend it across 305 and include 10th Avenue. And because that's underutilized. And if we improve 5 there, we could do a lot more. We were just in the break talking about the complete streets. Josh is going to try to get us some things when he can. But we did, one of the projects identified in the complete streets for Viking is exactly that, narrowing, breaking up the center lane. Britt and I have been jokingly referring to it as the boulevard. Try to, you know,
Building on that too with Viking, because I think there's opportunities in both locations. It's been identified, we've talked about
I
it.
just want them to get the speed limit to 25.
You know, what can we do to start, you know, bringing these up is, you know, every 6 months as a council, talk about that so that we don't rely completely on cars except when we're downtown.
I agree.
Well, Josh in the spot, and when he said he could bring it to us, but he said he's gonna try soon. So
We have we have some pretty big commitments, but we've been talking about Viking Avenue for quite some time. And so we're all in. It's just a question of fitting it.
I see with comprehensive plan coming out of the planning department, hopefully in the next month or 3. All right, there's a lot of things in there. Complete streets, all right, let's move towards execution on a couple of these things.
Absolutely.
And the last thing, sorry, Deb, I really think it's a best practice of, I don't care if it's our local flower club or Rotary or any government organization, to status report. I don't see one on the upcoming agenda. I didn't see one in my box. We had a working group last year trying to work towards that end. I really would like to see us adopt at some point some sort of monthly report of how we're doing financially. It is part of our responsibilities, I see, as city council, to not only set the budget, but to get feedback on how we're executing. And waiting to the June, I don't know why this popped into me, but the June feeding frenzy about what carryover was, seems like to see if we can get something at some point.
Noted. Right, and I did just put in some reports. I thought they were through March, and we're just closing out April now. I put them in your box, but I'll double check that. We are.
I checked at 4:30 and.
Oh, no, they were in there a couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago. So let me refresh. We are on the agenda for May 21st.
Good.
We're going to be talking about B&O tax. We're going to be doing the first quarter variance report, as well as we're going to be talking about carryover, and we're slotted for an hour, and the mayor moved just so we can focus on everything.
It doesn't show up monthly in any of our discussions in city council.
And so we have been trying to get the year closed, and that we've been on a timeline for the auditor. So we've been working nights and weekends, and we just got that done. And so now we're working on getting the months properly closed out and getting that regulated.
Okay, so good. Okay, so can we wrap this up very quickly? Because we've got people waiting. Yeah.
County people.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
quickly.
and I'll just say the Viking one was surprisingly reasonable for what the contractors brought us that we put together. So the one I was going to bring up, just because it came up again, I did ask that we bring the streetery conversation back sooner, since we pushed the paid parking to next year. Discussion that we're going to have a new streetery coming. So I would like to see that sooner rather than later, because if we have more people applying, I definitely think we need to have a discussion so folks know what they're getting themselves into. Applications, as we get into that parking discussion. And we had Slippery Pig close, a new tenant come in, and the assumption was they could take over their streetery. And I don't know that we made allowance for that when we worked this out previous years. So I would really like to see that conversation happen sooner rather than later.
Okay,
So we can
noted.
give people a clear path.
Noted. And anything? Okay. Phew, lots of stuff going on. All right, let's move on to item C, which is the Kitsap County Sewer CFP presentation and guests.
I'll
Thank you.
just say a few words because we're going to have Kitsap County sit at the table.
Thank you, Kitsap County. Thank you for your patience listening to all of this.
I'll introduce them, although one of them might be painfully familiar.
That one I expected.
So Nick Martin is here tonight and Anthony Burgess. We also have Chris Piercy and we have Commissioner Rolfes. Just a little reminder to citizens. Our city sewer system ends at city limits, which is approximately at Johnson Road and 305. From that point, we travel, or our sewage travels through pipes and pumps to the Brownsville treatment plant. So we have a partnership with Kitsap County, and we have a 20% share in the capacity of the treatment plant. So that means that when a project is necessary, we participate in the project with our fair share of costs for both the conveyance and the treatment and the upgrades. We've been coordinating with Kitsap County on, maybe Brooks can help bring up the county presentation in the file. But we've been coordinating with Kitsap County on the GCCM project, which is underway for the treatment plant. And annually, we regularly coordinate on our capital program. Just for perspective, our capital program is estimated at less than 30 million, and about 80% of that is projects within the county. So that gives you an idea of what the magnitude of our investment is with the county on downstream facilities. So I'll turn it over to Nick.
Press the button. Okay, there you go.
That one?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Nick Martin. I am the division manager for sewer utility at Kitsap County. I appreciate you guys having us out here tonight. We're gonna take a little bit talk about the projects that we have upcoming. One of them is a very large one that we've been working on for the last couple of years. Like Dan said, we've got a partnership with the city of Poulsbo. Her team is fantastic to work with, so we have quite a bit of crossover in some of our facilities that treat the sewage that comes out of the city of Poulsbo. Fun pictures of our treatment plant. So this is the current site layout at our central Kitsap. The circular out of the page are our digesters, which are closing in on 50 years old, along with the two circular structures just above them that have what look to be blue tops on them there. There's our gravity thickeners. So what I came to show you today is this is off Brownsville Highway. So this is, and I've got a better picture to show you next, but this is the sketch of what we are doing out there, the solids project to handle all the sewage that we get. We are in the process of a project that will deliver 2 new digesters, and we will go from gravity thickening to rotary drum, which is a better thickening process, allows us, and it's just better utilization of our technology there and the system as a whole. So there's something a little easier, or it was a little easier for me to show here. On the right hand of the screen there is a chunk of property that we bought from the old sawdust processing plant that was next door to the treatment plant forever. That's where our new maintenance facility is going to go. You can see the 2 rectangular boxes in the very center of the screen that are over top of what a building that's currently there. That building that's a current maintenance facility, it is being tore down to make room for and process buildings. And then the 2 red circles with the box digesters that will handle not only the flow we have now, but the projected flow years at the plant. Uncoupled from the city, taken all the septage in Kitsap County and some septic counties and all of the fog in the county as well. So at the bottom of the screen, there's a couple of boxes down there to show where our new fog and septic receiving stations will, fats, oils, and grease. Sorry, I have a bad habit of using acronyms and not explaining what they are. We have a little bit of work that goes on in our process building, with box on the left there, just a little bit of work to help the rotary and some of the other ancillary pieces that go into this project. So our current schedule right now, we should be through design by mid-June. We're going to be into final design in October. We've been delivering this process through a mechanism called GCCM, which is General Contractor Construction Manager. It is effectively the way you do that is you have a designer on board, and then we bring the contractor on at somewhere between the 15 to 30% design process. That way there we have the contractor on board. They help with value engineering, making sure that we have everything. And what it leads to, what's called a MAC, which is the maximum construction cost. In November, we will get to a point where we will have a contract with the contractor that will say they will build this facility for X amount of dollars, and then whatever overage potentially that happens in there would be on their dime because they've been involved in the process of designing it. We have, I will go back here. It is. Other states call it CMAR, Construction Manager at Risk. Washington State has a name for it, and Oregon has a different name. They are Construction Manager General Contractor. They're just backwards of us, but everybody else calls it.
Good process. You get picture general contractor instead of low price technically accepted.
Correct.
So your superintendent project manager that's doing this, they get to pick.
Yeah, and like I said, they're involved in the process early. So you have the expertise of the involved right out of the gate. So they're talking with the design firm, city around what can we do here? You know, is there things that we can change to drive price down? Is there some process wise that we didn't think about? In what we have, let's see, what's the best one to show it here? This one's probably the best one. So because of the large nature of this process and this project, we divided it up. It started out as an even bigger project than it is right now. And we had to, due to just cost of it as the county, we've had to look at what do we actually need to keep this plant running. But effectively what we're doing is into what we're calling phases. And really where the dividing line is, the maintenance facility and the septic and fog receiving will be potentially into phase 2. And all that means for this in particular, all it really means is it'll come at the tail end of the project. So we're talking probably 3 years, 4 years now before it's commissioned. What we're going to get in phase 1 is the digesters, the new thickening equipment, so that we don't run a risk of our current digesters failing. And now the thing that everybody's always excited about. So right now at our 60%, the cost estimate is $163 million. Of that is Poulsbo share is a little over 20 million. So we've done extensive amount of work to make sure that the city of Poulsbo is paying for the things that the city of Poulsbo is utilizing. So no fog, no septage, making sure that they're getting the appropriate rate for any conveyance pipe that's in there. Us and your guys' public works department have went through a huge effort to make sure that in the cost estimate that it's broken out, so that we make sure the stuff that the city of Poulsbo is utilizing to treat their sewage is what you guys are paying for. We are, because of the large nature of the project, we have been for the last couple of years now, me and my staff have spent a ton of time going for every dollar that we can find anywhere. We made it on the spending last year, and then they wiped off all of the money allocated to anybody. So we missed out. We're third in line for CA funding, which is defensibility. I can't remember what the A is now. Again, we just got we were just let in on the other day that they cut 50 some odd $1 million. There was 11 million bucks is what they ended up allocating to it. So we missed out, but we ranked third there. We went for DCIP funding last year. There was 182 applicants were set up to go again this year. So we're working tirelessly, but every time we get, it seems like the funding dries up. So I guess before I continue, is there questions around the solids project? And we can talk about some of the other projects that we have.
Just a background question. On behalf of the ratepayers of the city of Poulsbo now, changing my hat. It was a number of decades ago, more than a few, that the city actually had its own little sewage facility. And in a negotiation with the county, we gave that up and combined and joined forces. And we undertook the contract responsibility of 20% of the facility. I assume that was based, including on population ratio and other factors. Can you share that? I think I know the population of the base and Silverdale and other outlying areas have grown large. We've grown some. I don't think we're quite 20% of the rate paying population, but I'm trying to understand better that fundamental piece of this equation that your presentation entirely is resultant on.
I'll pitch it to Diane because I know she was here. But it is, your guys' rate is based on flow and capacity in our digesters. But Diane, I'm sure can talk more around.
Yes, I'm not sure what the original purchase was when we joined the treatment plant, but when I came to the city, we owned 0.95 MGD of a 6 MGD plant. That was 15.3%. We were exceeding that amount in average daily flow, and so we increased our amount to 1.2 MGD, and that's 20%. So we pay for 20% of the capacity that we have reserved, not necessarily the population comparison. But on the flip side of that, for the facilities plant, we pay on a percentage of actual flow. So Kitsap County has meters, they can measure actual flow. The thing that's interesting is Bangor hasn't actually grown and increased flow over the years. They originally had a very large piece of the capacity, but they weren't increasing their flow to the treatment plant significantly. So we were able to buy back some of the military's flow, so to speak.
They're charging us
Volume.
actually on the volume we use. It has nothing to do with population or acreage or anything. Okay.
The new digesters, are they intended to augment what's there or replace what's there?
Replace what's there. So what, well, a little bit of both. So because of capacity projections, both for the septage that we take in the city of Poulsbo, Bangor, city of Silverdale, things like that. Our current capacity right now sits at about 1.3 million gallons between the two digesters. They're both 0.65 in that range. The two new digesters are both 1 million gallons apiece. The idea there is that we will be, at least for our next 40-year outlook, we have enough capacity to handle anything that would come to that treatment plant.
So would it be build the new ones and then maybe take the old ones offline until
That is-
capacity reaches that point? 'Cause you
Well,
mentioned better technology. That's why.
Yeah, we're building the new ones. Right now, our current plan is to mothball the old ones. We had originally started out thinking we were going to rehab them. The issues come with that is we haven't had those digesters open in well over a decade. So what happens there is you can spend double the amount of money to rehab a digester that's 50 years old than to build a new one. So our original, early on, before about the 30% design level, we were building two new ones at 0.65, and then we were going to rehab the two that are there. And just from the cost estimate of just rehabbing them, we realized that we could build two substantially bigger ones and handle any flow that we have anytime soon. One of the things that we have done that we've got in the project for future down the road is a different way of processing it. They're called meso digesters now. Thermophilic is a different way of handling digestion. So what we've done, what I put in place to make sure that we have the ability, if we need to go to that, is the walls are a bit thicker and we have a different coating. The cost for us now is minimal, pennies, less than pennies on the dollar. And it gives us the ability that in the future capacity, we could turn them into thermophilic digesters and we could start that process. But it just sets us up where we have the ability.
So we're basically putting them in the system someday, but for now.
At the moment, yeah, that's what we're sitting. What we're trying to understand is, I'm trying to get to a point where we have the two new ones up and running and we can look at them, because there's some structural potential there that they may not even be worth saving. We may end up having to just completely demolish them altogether. Again, we're one of about a dozen installations that still have digesters that haven't had a major amount of work done to them, that are closing in on 50 years old. So
Thanks, Mayor. Given the the degree to which the county continues to grow, given the economic investment we're talking about making in this location, do you have adequate land around the current facility for future expansion?
we do have adequate land. We own the 40 acres to the, is that southeast-ish?
Okay.
We have plenty of land.
Not an issue then.
yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're not investing in this and all of a sudden we're gonna be,
No.
landlocked or
No,
something.
no,
Okay.
we have plenty of area.
All right.
It's surprisingly easy to pick up land next to a treatment plant. So.
All right, thank you.
Imagine that's true. Okay.
Anything else on the solids? Talk about some of the other projects we have going with the city of Poulsbo. I'll do the first one. We just are closing in. We're doing the punch list on the Johnson and Orem pipeline, from the your guys' meter down to the siphons. Everything went well. We were, I think when we originally bid it, it was half of what our engineering estimate was. And all in all, I think we ended up with a couple $100,000 change order in there to pick up some odds and ends, but I think it went really well. It's up and running. It gives us the ability to not, again, worry about pipe that's 50 years old through there. So. You're up, kid.
There was a question on what caused the spill. You're taking a replacement of a smaller pipe, putting in a much larger pipe, which actually helps with your capacity needs as Poulsbo also continues to grow very quickly. And anytime you marry a new system with an old system, there's getting to know that system. So we went through an exercise to maintain it for the first time to make sure that it worked. We ran into a challenge. So as part of one of the contracts I'm going to be talking about on this screen, the siphons, we're going to have that contractor, that engineering firm also look from a modeling perspective. Is there another way that we can maintain this facility to avoid potential for spill? So we'll be looking at that before we go through the next maintenance activity. We don't like to spill either. So anytime it happens, we work tirelessly to figure out how to avoid it at all costs. So just a little note there. On the next point, the sewer general plan, this is something that your engineering staff completed recently as well. The important point for Poulsbo is it did accurately include your growth projections that you utilized in your comprehensive planning efforts. So you were very much considered in this document. This document for us, we had one for each of our service areas, so we got to do 4 of them, which was quite a bit of fun. We are going through the final stages. We just wrapped up our public engagement process, and we're expecting it all to be wrapped up here by the end of the summer. Pump Station 24, which is something we've talked about in the past here. It's our largest lift station in our system. It handles all of the sewage flow from City of Poulsbo and Naval Bases Keyport and Bangor. We finished the first phase, which was an emergency replacement of the failing pumps. Much like Charlie had mentioned earlier, where you have a station operating on one pump, we were in the same situation not too long ago through a wet season, which is a very, very stressful place to be. All 3 of those pumps have been replaced. They're working fantastic. Now is the next phase where we also replace our electrical equipment, which is significant. We hope to be through design by the end of this year and be able to pre-procure all of the, what we call long lead items. Electrical equipment is very difficult to get still. We're still facing that impact post-COVID. The siphon, which we're very excited about, is looking at the two 12-inch siphons, which take Poulsbo's flow from the Lamolo side over to the Keyport side. We had a contractor called Pika out of Canada take a look at the condition of those two pipes. And not surprisingly, they're in not great shape. So we moved quickly with the input from your engineering team to combine with Carollo Engineering on another contract. They're working with us on Suquamish treatment plant. The two projects are very similar in that we're looking at an alternatives analysis. So we will work in tandem with your staff to figure out the metrics at which we create. We're going to aim for 3 alternatives, and then we'll pick the preferred alternatives from there. Do we need a brand new siphon? Do we need 2 siphons? Can we utilize the old siphons? These are all questions that we're asking and we're considering. This is not a small project. It will be a large impact. It will be substantially difficult to permit. So we want to make sure that we consider all elements of the project from the beginning so that we can avoid any surprises once we're under design and chasing those grant opportunities. And we'll have our kickoff meeting with your staff here in the next few weeks. Back to you, unless there's any questions on what I just went through.
Just as you're going through projects, you probably are experts at this, but as we see cuts in federal dollars and increase in military spending, maybe we could build these as issues of national security since they serve as 2 critical military installations.
There is intention to work as collaboratively as we can with our federal neighbors, especially with some of the real estate challenges we're going to have with the siphons. So those are conversations that we will continue to have.
That's not outside the scope because there is growth occurring on Banger. And so that, I would go back for the federal, that one that got cut off because that Banger is only going to increase.
Yeah.
Regardless of what we see happening, it's not happening at Banger. So yeah, I said, I'm watching buildings being built right now. So
we've had success gaining support from the naval commanders. We were the first infrastructure recipient of DCIP funding. I'm not going to remember the acronym, but that was, I believe, $10 million of grant funding for our emergency force main replacement project. So it's well understood that if you flush your toilet on base, it's coming to us, and we are critical to mission success.
Yeah. And actually, our last call, the captain discussed the fact the part of the reason the pipes on base are standard that is so limited that they really can't handle any more flow, because it was in response to a complaint about why the government only buys single ply toilet paper, because that's all the pipes can handle. So just fun sewer fact.
Any other questions on those bullets? Otherwise, I'll turn it over to
Not the flow. When we get to rates, I have a question.
Oh, it was just a bullet. We're working right now. We finished our rate analysis, our first projections back to the board. They gave us a nod. We're working on public engagement of setting our rates, and we'll work through that through the summer.
No rates conversation today.
No.
No, we're not ready.
I know. What was your question?
So number one, you back from whence he came, City Hall, and if they mistreat you at the county, you know where to turn to.
I
So-
hear they have sandwiches here.
Nice.
We feed
So,
people here.
what I'd like to do is turn to Josh and Diane, our public works staff. I know we've been doing the sewer, we've been anticipating sewer budget, sewer costs, sewer reserves, and therefore rates. what is the timing on getting into alignment such that we stay ahead of the curve for our ratepayers?
I'll answer the first part of the question first. The timing for getting into alignment is before we adopt the CIP for next year. We will have an amendment to our CIP. For example, over the next 6 years in the current CIP that we have 13 million currently that we've been carrying for the treatment plant. As Nick shared, the investment is closer to 20 million, but that's split into 2 phases. And so it'll be spread out a little over time. We're absolutely fine for the next couple of years in terms of what we've anticipated. But what I see in our next rate evaluation that Financial Consultant Services Group will do for us is that we will be borrowing more money than we had previously planned. So we're looking at Public Works Trust Fund for sewer, and that also frees up funds for other things like the Public Works facility. So those are 2 things that are important. The other thing is Chris Piercy and Nick and I have been talking about our agreement with Kitsap County. We anticipate after they go through their rate adjustment process and specifically look at connection fees, that we may make some modifications or work through some potential modifications to that agreement. The way the agreement is written right now, we're absolutely tied number that the county has plus whatever number we have. We may want to relook at how that's worded to give Poulsbo a little more flexibility depending on our funding strategy. The other thing is we did write a letter of support for the most recent grant application that went in at the county, and we'll continue to do that. But if Nick has a feeling for the percent increase that you're looking for at the county, if that's been shared publicly, we'd be happy to hear that, but I'm not sure if you've gone through your public process yet. So I'm okay with that question just moving on. I think it's all about timing.
It's not fair to put out numbers when we don't know. That's inappropriate. Okay, so you're off the hook on that one. You're welcome. Rather have accurate than soon.
That's what I like too.
Okay, questions for the county. First of all, thank you very much for your patience and being here tonight. We're running a little late this evening. That was a great presentation, so thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Questions for the county? Love those siphons.
Keep doing good work.
Would it be appropriate to invite our county commissioner up to share any remarks or insights?
Are you good? She wants to go home too. All right, thanks, guys.
One more thing I'll leave with you guys. You guys, I'm sure you already know, we have a great group in Public Works. It's an absolute joy to work with Diane and her whole group, so.
You guys have a great team there too.
If
That's
that
my
would convert to a
understanding, so.
discount, we'd love it.
Yeah.
Nick and Anthony and Chris have really worked with the board over the last year to see how we could squeeze the costs of this massive construction project. Just to like make it more affordable for the ratepayers. So your question about the ratepayers has been sort of a dominant theme that they've had to listen to us on for the last year. So we're in a place where they're going to be doing public meetings and getting feedback and all that. We're in a place where, yeah, this is an expensive project. It's a generational infrastructure project. And I want to thank these guys for the work they've been putting into like grant after grant after grant. And you got a few, I don't think you mentioned it. We got some like low interest loans and stuff, right?
We've gotten some low interest loans, SRF and Public Works Trust Fund. Like I said, we keep getting close. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Great team.
Yeah, and we're going to keep going, and we appreciate the partnership with you guys.
Great team. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to item D, which is special events in June, and this is Jeff. And Shelby. Sorry, mind blank. Jeff and Shelby.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and citizens. We're pleased to be in front of you today. Shelby is going to be, you met her last month as we went through everything, and she's done a wonderful job preparing a synopsis of 8 upcoming events. With that said, I'm going to hand it off to Shelby.
Hi, good evening, everybody. First, I'm going to bring up the VFW Memorial Day event. It is happening on May 26th. It's going to be to honor all those who have served. They expect about 200 spectators, and it's going to be down at the waterfront park. Next is Pets Walk with the Kitsap Humane Society. It is on Saturday, June 7th. It'll be pretty much an all-day event. The race starts at 9. It's a 5K run, walk, and a vendor fair to raise money for Kitsap Humane Society. They're expecting about 500 attendees and 35 vendors, and it'll be Lions Park and the waterfront park. Tuesday, June 10th is June Tunes concert with West Sound Academy. Students plan and rehearse, and it's an all-day event. You can come down and hear the kiddos singing. There will be about 20 kids. They expect roughly 80 people in attendance, and it'll be down at the pavilion. Next is the North Kitsap High School Class of 2025 celebration. It is Wednesday, June 11th, and it's up at Robb Park. It's an annual event for graduating seniors to get together and have lunch. They expect about 200 kids, and there will be 20 staff. The next day, on Thursday, the 12th, there's the Poulsbo Middle School end of year picnic, also an annual event for their 8th grade students. They also expect about 200 participants, and it is also at Robb Park. Next we have.
We just party on and on. don't
You
we?
know, June is very busy. Next we have the Bash at the Bay with Young Life and Empowered Church. This is also an annual event they have down at the waterfront. It will be Wednesday, June 18th. It's a celebration for Poulsbo and Kingston middle and high school students. There'll be music, games. They expect about 300 participants over the course of the time that they're there, and it is down at the waterfront park. And we also have Midsummer Fest and the Viking Bonfire on Saturday, June 14th, celebrating the change of the seasons, all the fun dancing and musicians, and then of course the bonfire. They're expecting 300 plus participants for the fest and 100 participants for the bonfire, and it is also at the Muriel Iverson Waterfront Park. That is, the setup for the fest is from 11 a.m. The dancing and all that is happening starting at 12 p.m. and the bonfire starts at 7. And then finally, we have the Makers Fair with Cultural Arts Northwest. That will happen Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, June 27th through 29th. They're expecting 39 booths daily, over 2,000 people over the course of the weekend, and it is also down at the waterfront park. That is all I have for you.
That's a lot.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out in the middle of that, there you have North Kitsap High School graduations on June 13th, and then Kingston's on the 14th. So not official city events, but gonna bring a lot of people into the vicinity
Oh, very true.
on those 2 days, and traffic and everything associated, so.
Thank you.
Only thing to add is we are getting cost recovery back from some of these events. So it's gone pretty smoothly so far since we've implemented it.
And Play for All opens Saturday, right? Sunday.
Play for All is this Saturday at 10 a.m.
Saturday at 10 a.m.
Any questions for
All.
Shelby?
Thank you, Shelby.
Appreciate it.
Okay, on to ordinance number 25, something Poulsbo municipal code 2.16 municipal court update, and this is Amy. Hi, Amy.
So this is just a change in the current code that we have. The court operates under rules that are set by the Supreme Court, one of them being GR 29 which says that a single court with one presiding judge will designate a pro tem, a designated pro tem that'll be on file with the state. So in the absence or illness of the judge, then the pro tem will step in, and that way the court continues to operate. Currently, the code says that the mayor will appoint. We're just changing it to reflect what the general rule from the Supreme Court says.
I don't want to appoint anyway. No, go ahead.
Yep.
So, this will be on the business agenda or consent next? Consent.
Consent.
Consent. Any questions about this? Just keeping us legal.
So just basically clarify, if it's a temporary assignment, the judge handles it. If it's a replacement, the mayor handles it.
Correct.
Got it? Thank you, Amy. Okay, now we have the Poulsbo Event and Recreation Center project update, and this is Diane. Okay, I was trying to read your name tag and I couldn't see it.
Thanks, Sparks. So I'd like to introduce a few members of the team that are here tonight. Next to me is Craig Skipton with AHBL. He's the project manager for the PERC project. Of course, Jeff is our client over there, and the city engineer, Josh Rains, has also been involved in the project. So they're here, and we have a presentation for you, and it's an important presentation. We're at a milestone I'm happy to share. We are to the point where we have a site plan that we're ready to go through the approval process with planning. We've actually had a pre-application and initiated that process. We had a willing seller with 2 parcels adjoining the PERC site. As you know, I've been in conversation with them. We've entered into a purchase and sale agreement, which they signed. We received it over the weekend. And they also signed all the disclosure agreements. So we're in the final stages of doing our due diligence, and I believe that we will own 2 parcels adjoining the site. As a matter of fact, I'm very confident that subject to council approval, we will own those 2 parcels. So what we're going to share with you tonight is how we move forward. And I will start the presentation, and then Craig will kick in on the more design elements. But just a reminder to citizens that maybe haven't been up to this area and looked around. If you drive past the Fairfield Hotel on Reliance, and if you're a fan of pickleball, you'll go past Pickleball Kingdom. And at the end of that dead-end street is a 6-acre site, which is the site for the PERC. That's the site that went through a feasibility study. And if you look to the east or to the right on this map, you'll see 3 even sized parcels. The 2 parcels closest to our 6-acre site are 2.4 acres, which are available for the city. On the north side, we have Olympic College. You can see we're very close to the parking lot there. And there are also 2 vacant parcels of Olympic College that are adjoining the PERC site. Just a reminder to everyone, Carla Botten, our previous planning director and a consultant to the city, completed the leadership of the feasibility study in 2023. I just want to let you know that we are continuing to use all the work that was done as part of that feasibility study to guide us in what is happening at this site. So in 2024, we had a number of major events. After much hard work, we were able to negotiate the interlocal agreement with the Public Facilities District, and that was signed in 2024. So we were authorized to move ahead with the phase 1 design, and we went through the appropriate process and selected AHBL for that work. In the city capital program, we have our share in alignment with the money from the PFD for a $13 million project. We've also applied for 2 RCO grants, one in process and one application that has gone in. So with that, I want to just turn it over to Craig to talk about the project and the design from where they picked it up this year.
Great. Well, thank you, Diane. Again, my name is Craig Skipton. I'm a landscape architect with AHBL. And I'm very excited to be here with you tonight and to share the progress we've made so far on phase 1. So let me get started. So things we've completed so far, and they are instrumental and fundamental to our design phase work. So the site survey is really important. That has been completed, and for the additional parcels as well. That's mapping and documenting all the grades, property lines, easements, and making sure that that's all valid. Super important for us, so we have a solid base to work from. Also important background information that's completed, that is now part of the project, is our geotechnical analysis. And that is a really important piece if you're going to be building buildings, working to infiltrate any stormwater. So that is complete. We have identified one location on site that's potential for infiltration as part of our due diligence for stormwater control and management on site. So we're investigating that and have a monitoring well installed to review that. So that's all part of the process for permit application. We've also been reviewing precedents. We have a wonderful feasibility study that we've leapt and started from. And so that's definitely fundamental for us, but we've also been using some of this information, this fundamental information, to work with designs. So working on some precedents. And Diane mentioned already that we had our pre-application conference with the city of Poulsbo. That was great because we got to learn about some must-haves that we weren't, we were thinking they might be included or need to be included, but realized that yes, they do need to be included. One of those is a parking analysis or a parking study for the site. So, and that is in the works as well. And then the next step, which is on the next slide, is our validation study. So this is where we started, really, when we had that verified information about the site, the size, actual dimensions, actual grades. This is where we actually began really digging into the design and layout of the fields. Looking at that as the main driver for phase 1, as we all know from our feasibility study. So really looking to just test out the options and find the best configuration for the site.
One of the things that came out of that is the current design has 2 fields at the same rough elevation rather than a tiered layout.
Yeah, and so with that, I get to share with you our site plan for phase 1, which we're super excited about. This is a rendered plan, so a little bit easier to read than construction documents. Not that we're there yet, but this is a lot easier to read and shows you those field layouts and some of the other site elements. So just let me point those out real quick. We do have the 2 fields. They're set up as soccer fields primarily, but they're also set up as multi-use fields as well. So what's wonderful about synthetic turf, which these fields are going to be, so that they're fully functional year round. And so the great piece is that you can add lines or add tick marks for other sports. So primary use is soccer, secondary uses will be lacrosse. And this is part of the refinement of our 60% phase is getting to fine tune those points. But lacrosse, ultimate frisbee, and other sports that can be installed, and even smaller soccer ball courts too as well. Right now we're showing 6 pickleball courts. That might be a little bit much for the site, so that's something we're testing out for 60% design as well. It might end up being closer to 4, but we wanted to sort of get a feel of what that would be at 30%. And then otherwise, we have a couple multi-use courts as well. Those could be restriped or striped additionally with pickleball court layout as well for temporary net layouts. So that's something we're studying in 60%. With that, these additional parcels, we've gotten more space. And so with that more space, we're adding parking for the phase 1, where if we could squeeze it in, but now we have a little more room. So we have more room, about 100 stalls in this layout right now. And the other piece is buildings. We have 2 buildings shown right now and 2 shelters. So 1 restroom building and 1 storage building.
So this gives you a basic layout, and what you can see on the east side is that second parcel is undeveloped as part of phase one.
Question? Wasn't there some discussion of the ability to have a facility that could lend itself to concession stands, sheltered?
We have had lots of conversations about that actually, and
Mhm.
part of that programming, a review and discussion for phase one was with Parks, and Jeff was instrumental in being part of that conversation. We're actually leaning towards food trucks now, and that's more of a common thing that happens at athletic facilities. So a hot dog stand within the restroom building is not as typical as it used to be.
As long as we maintain the capacity for tournament play, and I'll just state what my
Absolutely.
colleagues already know, the largest tourist event in Kitsap County in the modern era was the Viking Soccer Cup,
Yeah.
which Bremerton on up to, Kingston, everything was full. You couldn't go anywhere. People didn't realize that one sporting event statewide held here
Mhm.
was the largest tourist event in Kitsap County. So when we start building this capacity, and the PFD saw it as an economic development project, right?
Absolutely.
That ability to facilitate tournament play, I'll just generally put it that way,
Mhm.
seems critically important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's very good. The other thing that I want to mention is that Jeff, our Parks Director, and his team have gone through and looked at the programming for this site and have some great aspirations that this site will absolutely be used. And a big part of it is the flexibility that we have in the fields. The other thing that doesn't necessarily show up on this picture, but it will be on one of the other ones that we'll show you in a minute, is there's a walkable trail around the perimeter, and there's ADA access intended up north into the Olympic College, and those are important.
Yeah, and this next slide just
Sorry,
shows.
I'm sorry.
Oh, pardon me.
Can we go back to that last slide? So, previously, we've discussed the idea of perhaps having, it was been described as a small amphitheater capacity up here. Because we've got these huge open spaces. My recollection is part of the reason we were thinking about that is because there were some elevation changes, I believe. So I'm wondering where we're at with, I think it's a great idea as a way to make this even more of a multi-use facility. Where are we at with the discussions about amphitheater, some sort of special, being able to host special events or festivals here?
So the fields could be used for some type of event. There is a grade change on the north end between the upper field and Olympic College. The property that would serve as an amphitheater would be currently college property in what is the buffer on the edge of their property. So that would take some work. It hasn't been forgotten, but if you just take a look at the site, and with the runout areas on the soccer fields, which weren't fully shown in the feasibility study, there isn't a lot of extra space for something like that. So we'll have to get creative. And it could even be that people are on the pickleball courts watching something on the upper field. It could be something that's designed on the lower part adjoining the parking lot. So there's a little bit of flexibility in that regard. There's not a lot of room. It's a pretty tight site.
Yeah, our focus was competition play and facilitating that. And one of the realities that we also have been realizing is that people bring pop-up tents, and whether it's additional teams or family members, relatives, everyone brings pop-up tents. So we're trying to allocate space for that as well. So that's part of our planning. We also did talk about other events being able to be hosted on these fields so that it is one big open plain for the community to use. And it could be a place that a pop-up movie or stage gets installed. That could be for projection screens as well.
I would encourage us to continue working hard to do that, because I mean, it was part of the feasibility study. It's something I sort of feel like we promised to the community that was going to be part of it.
one of the things that's come up recently is the ability to play softball or baseball. And the way this is designed, that looks like it might be a little tough unless you, what's the pink thing? What's the round pink thing?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. I'm sorry. That right now is a playground.
It's a playground. Okay,
yes,
so I don't
exactly.
want to get rid of the playground. I think you could make the fields and then maybe you have a baseball diamond there. I don't know. But, or a softball. Yeah, I know. I think everybody wants something and, yeah, I think everybody wants something with this and it's not gonna be, it's not gonna be perfect and, not everybody's gonna get everything they want. And I understand that. I just thought I'd ask.
I think I remember talking with you about this, Doug. I can't remember. Kind of early on, and one of the questions I asked was that very question, can we use this for baseball? And I believe I was told by some people who have, worked a lot with that, artificial turf, is that baseball does not work particularly well on that because you've got base paths that end up getting very worn out,
Okay.
where the rest of the surface does not, unless you're prepared to have dirt base paths, and then that kind of screws it up for soccer and other play, right? I can't remember if you and I I talked with somebody about, maybe it was Carla.
It requires more care and maintenance because there is somebody sitting at first, somebody at second, somebody at short. There's the batter's box, so that they do take more care in feeding, but it is the standard now in the Northwest to go synthetic turf for softball and baseball.
Yeah.
And it really gets into schools play it, and they want to start the 1st of March, and usually grass fields are not playable. They're just soupy, so we're starting to see them fairly consistently.
Yeah.
But just thinking about a soccer field's 300 feet long, 320 feet long. Baseball is 320 by 320, right?
Sides, yeah.
On the sides and 400 in the depth. So it's effectively 2 football fields is a baseball.
Pretty tough.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
And these two fields, the upper one is a youth field and the lower one has a lot more flexibility. It's a little bit larger. It's an adult full-size field.
Go ahead.
How much of a contingency might we be operating with on this project, Diane?
I think that's a couple slides from
Yeah,
Good straight man.
that's a really good question. Our budget was 13 million and we will fully expend the 13 million. So where we have the cost estimate in a couple of slides, I said 13 to 16 million. So in terms of budget we have available right now, I would say that the 10% contingency is about all we have. And that our intent is to bid it with alternates and build what we can afford to build. So what you see is what we would bid it with if it fits.
Well answered. I was just going to suggest, in case the fairy godmother visits us on this project, a little bit of aluminum bleacher type seating would be phenomenal up there. If you could keep that in mind on some of the perimeter.
Maybe that's, get rid of some of the pickleball courts. Because we've got pickleball coming down in the corner. I don't know.
Well,
I know
ju-
that's sacristy. You can't say that now. Yeah, I know that, but there's 6 of them up there. Maybe we just do 4. Okay, go ahead, Doug.
Just 3 points. One is, there's that Northwest Resilience Road is a 4-lane road.
Right.
Diagonal parking, I think, would be great there if the city, that's something maybe that city could work out, and that would add a bunch of spots.
I have been talking about parking. Diane knows this a lot for
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah,
I mean,
cool.
I want parallel parking on all those roads.
That, a diagonal more, right?
Well, no, you could literally, the road down here on the south section of this.
Yeah, that's resilience.
It's 4 lanes.
Yeah, it doesn't
We
need,
only need 2.
yeah,
Okay, we only need 2.
cool. Yeah,
So,
tons of parking available.
There's a lot of ways we can park on
And
this.
then,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh, and then the other one, I know this is a mock-up, so I don't, just throwing this comment out there, and maybe this is more for Jeff. If you ever do basketball courts, please make them full court and not 2 separate courts with a chain link between them, because then people can't play together and they don't get to meet each other to play basketballs. All right, that's just this. And then last but not least, there are five baseball diamonds 2.5 miles away at Snyder Park.
Sure.
So, and then, so that's not, short distance away, North Kitsap Park, 5 diamonds, not too, very, very close. And last comment, totally agree. We have a lot of new pickleball courts less than, a few hundred feet away. So just throwing that out there.
But wait, tournaments. Yeah, tournament. For pickleball.
Oh, yeah.
Big thing. That's money.
I really like that. I really like the comment that you just made about the basketball courts, is putting them all in one so that you could play a full court game. I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
We have a size constraint that we're working with. We have a 20-foot setback, so we can definitely look at that. We want to make sure we have enough room for people to circulate around, but we'll definitely look at the full court. But yeah,
What's the little box to the left of the courts?
that is a picnic shelter.
Ah, okay.
And we have discussed on-street parking and is currently shown in our plans. And the road section that we are working with now has on-street parking and a bike lane to support that future connection to the west.
Well, and I was gonna say, you said about being able to, people to get through there, but if you routed them down to the existing street, there are sidewalks, so we, if that makes room for the full court. I don't think we have a full court in this, anywhere in the city right now. We have a lot of half courts, right? Is Route full? Okay, but yeah, if we could make that work.
I think that,
Yeah.
I think the good news is that we're actually moving forward with something. The bad news is that everybody wants everything, and that's not possible.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things folks want. And I would say, as to the baseball fields too, one of the things that the district has a lot of issues with is drainage on our baseball fields. So, it's complicated up here. North fields had a lot of self-help done, and there's been a lot of money spent to try to get them to drain. Kingston's fields, there's times of the year they're just not playable. So baseball fields are tough. And so, if we put a lot of money in it and trying to make them accommodating, then we might end up even be less useful. But back to the theater thing too. Yeah, if that's possible, even if we have to talk to OC, because I remember that conversation, because we talked, it could even be an extension of Jeff's summer concert series, of being able to host a larger one up there and extend or take pressure off of Rob. Because not Rob, downtown, as we talk about loving downtown park to death, be able to move a concert up there. So, yeah, I think that's something, it's certainly worth keeping in mind and investigating if we can do it.
All right. The next slide. Sorry, was there a question?
No.
Okay, next.
Yay.
Yay. So this slide shows the future expansion. So we are not showing much development on that second parcel to the east. We have done a lot of study of that for test fits of existing facilities, community centers, water-based centers as well. And those are all ones that, not all of them, but several of the ones that were listed in the feasibility study, they fit on this parcel. So I think that's a really fun thing to be looking forward to, is that phase 2.
Are you aware of it, how important that is?
So you're saying a
Community
splash
pool
pad?
and a splash pad.
The pool and the recreation center will fit on that piece of property.
What? Right there on that little? Really?
So
Get too
I thought we.
you guys,
Yeah.
okay,
Huh?
so let me just say that piece of property is 1.2 acres. The YMCA in Silverdale is 1 acre. So the YMCA in Silverdale, that type of structure does not fit on the parcel, but a recreation center does. It just needs to be sized to suit the site. And so that's what Craig has shown there in that blue building, is you could certainly have something there.
So I'm sorry, Diane, I'm confused. This area you're showing and with the red around it, this is the property that we're currently purchasing. Is that correct?
Yes, it's part of it. There's 2 parcels, the one right next to it and that one.
Ah, okay. That was not clear to me, because I thought we were purchasing the property to help provide parking. So, all right, okay. But we don't need all of it for parking, so that's what's left over. All right,
Yep.
and it's about an acre? Diane?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, all
There'd
right,
be
thank you.
1.2. Mhm.
Yeah. But if we do less parking and we go up, we can definitely fit a structure.
Mhm.
We did authorize higher heights up in that area, so.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
The parking at the Y is 3 times the parking that you see right there, at least. The good news on parking is there's 2 different situations. There's during the week and what you have happening on the weekends, and then also what you have happening when you have a major event, whether it's a concert, a farmer's market, or tournaments. And so we have on-site enough parking for the site. Those bigger events definitely need to use the overflow parking, which includes a street, of course, and then also includes some negotiation with some adjoining property owners. So all the levels can be served. And if we had a major event, they might be bused from Kitsap Transit or shuttled or something like that.
Remember that right on the other side of that is the big parking lots for the college, which
Yep.
aren't being used hardly at all, let alone, and not at all on Saturday and Sundays. See, they're right next to the parking lot. So
Mhm.
all we need to do is get an arrangement with Olympic College, which I'm sure they'll do. And for overflow parking, we create a little trail and then people can park at the college. And Pickleball Kingdom's the same way, yeah. So we're good. Yeah, go ahead, Pam.
There's a forested area to that right there to the left. Is there, is that spoken for? Is there anything currently happening? Cause I'm thinking about.
The Strickland property.
That's the Strickland, okay. Okay, all right, trying to keep up, okay. Okay, but
I think this was before
stuff-
your
it
time.
could be snatched up. You know,
We tried.
potentially.
We tried.
Okay. Somebody
Try
could
again,
come in
maybe.
and also, take advantage of, what I'm saying is that, I think as I think this is great in looking at the parking, but I'm looking at that future road connection that would definitely be, an impact if that wasn't, obtained by the city and there was another development that occurred. Having, living in an area where there are folks that get to Snyder Park, the flow of traffic it's great to see the activity in the fields being used. With that said, boy, sometimes pulling out of there, you let the baseball players get through and you sit and wait. So.
Got it. Noted.
Thank you.
So this is just a fun slide that show our phase 1 plan in context with the surrounding college marketplace and Olympic College in the neighborhood to the west. So yeah, just a fun graphic to show how it's going to fit with the site.
It'll fit.
Oh yeah. And then this is just a little more eye candy for you all. We do have that north wall, so just trying to think of it as a placemaking element as well. And just like thinking about celebrating elements of the site and really trying to celebrate the site as well.
And you put a couple of wide stairs up there so that people can get to the parking lot.
Yeah, that's
And there
happening
are-
on the right side of the screen. It's off image, but yes, that's where the wall and ramp is up to OC.
OC, yeah.
Becky or Ed, the future college plans, like with the Allied Health Center, and all, none of it includes that college-owned parcel, right? It's the one that's labeled college-owned on that map.
Not yet.
It's the other direction.
Not yet. The Western wanted one, but that was the far right one, but they didn't get funded. So, and the left one, as you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, go back a slide. Okay, the one that's on the left, like closest to the fields, is Olympic College. The one on the right is Westerns. The one on the right did not get funded, so that's still in play. The one on the left, as far as I know, there's no plans for the Allied Health Center to use that. Have you heard anything? For them to use that, the left one?
That's what I was trying to remember. I think, because I think all the construction is on the north side of the parking lot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's all in the campus itself still. I don't think it's anything to do with that piece of property. Okay. It's nice eye candy. I like that.
That was nice,
It
wasn't
is
it?
nice.
And then just a quick run through of what's left for us this year in our schedule. So we're in May now. We are in 60% design. It's running through June. Our submittal for the permit submittal is June 18th. So lots of pieces in play that are coming to conclusion here in 6%. So as I mentioned, that's our permit submittal as well. Permitting processing will be running through June and September while will be finishing 100% design. As the permitting gets approved and processed, we will go into advertise for bid, and then we're scheduling that for October, November, with the award to contractor in December.
And I'm hoping that we can have a little groundbreaking in December, like Merry Christmas, and dig some
I love that.
shovels in the snow, and so that we can groundbreak in December. So seriously, well, we have a contract with the PFD it doesn't say that specifically, but it would sure be a real show of intent if we were to do that.
We're doing it. We're working on it.
Just a little reminder where the money's coming from. The Public Facility District is providing $8.7 million for the project. That's 1.6 million in cash, not from their reserves toward the project, and then 7.11 million, which is a bond. The city of Poulsbo is currently providing 4.29 million, plus the property acquisition. So we weren't originally planning to purchase that property right now. So that would be in addition to the funds that we had in mind. We're looking at a bond issue late 25, early 26. That would be a bond issue by the city with payback for the 7.11 million by the PFD, and then we would pay the remainder of that. And we have 2 RCO grant applications pending. One, Carla submitted for 1.5 million. We found out at the end of the legislative session that it was not funded. However, I think we could resubmit that one for next year. The timing would work out. And then we also have a potential retroactive payment on reimbursement for the property acquisition if we're successful. And Jeff is working very hard to make that happen. So when I think about the capital cost, and I haven't split this up in details because there's so many moving parts on the additional items that we're bidding and potentially purchasing, but our original estimate has been 13 million, and I believe we're somewhere in the 13 to 16 million range if we were to build up everything. Our intent is to have AHBL do a full design for us. We bid it with alternates. And then if there is something that the city cannot afford, which I anticipate there will be some items, we will have a full design on those, and we can pursue other methods through RCO to make sure those happen. So that's what our intent is, so that we're maximizing our design thought process for the site to get as much as we can. And we have some people that are very talented at applying for grants, and we'll continue to do that. I do anticipate coming back to you very soon for the property acquisition. I'll be gone for a few weeks. So it might be someone else around here that brings it forward to keep it moving while I'm gone. And we will plan to give another update at the completion of 60% when we have updated our cost estimate based on what we've designed.
Well, Craig, you can tell we're not very interested in the project, so have a good time.
Look at that. It's beautiful. Good work.
This isn't really a question, but we all got an email recently that overlaps with this from Mr. Rose. Highlighting they have a town hall, they have public meetings coming up on May 20th and 21st for a project they're referring to as North Kitsap United. I know the council I think it was before several of us were on, but council passed a resolution opposing that, and that was part of the email questioning why we would do that. Just to throw out, because some of these things are, and we have some good examples on the screen right now with this project. So that project is proposing multiple outdoor fields, baseball, soccer fields. So full size, like we're seeing here, as well as an indoor facility to hold 2 baseball fields and 2 soccer fields. So 4 fields inside a building. And that's in addition to the proposed YMCA that the YMCA says they want to build at that location. So we're seeing the price here. We're looking at how many millions to build this. That's an entirely intended to be crowdfunded project. That's a NK United's proposal. There's no funding source to build it. There's no funding source to operate it. There's no funding source to maintain it. There's no infrastructure around it to include sewer, stormwater, anything. So the pool that the Y would put in that facility, all the stormwater that come off these facilities, all the sewage produced by that facility out in the middle of the county. If you haven't been out to that intersection where that property is, you want to talk about dirt work. It would make a great dirt bike track with the hills and jumps, but to level it for fields. So just to compare the price of this project to that project, I think it's pretty evident why we would want to oppose it. But the meeting's 20th, if anyone wants to go. I'm going to try to get out of my VFW meeting as early as possible to go out. It's at the North Kitsap Auditorium.
I'd just like to add to that, that when the city of Poulsbo had talked with the YMCA in years past, we were told that we didn't have enough, there wasn't money and there wasn't enough people to use the facility here in Poulsbo.
Yeah, I asked the director that question directly at one of their other meetings. What financially changed that allows it to be financially supported in the middle of the county with no municipal partner versus in the city next to the highway with the city of Poulsbo as a partner? And he did not answer my question.
Okay, we can take up the radiant conversation another time. It's getting late and we've got some work to do. Is there any other questions regarding the perk, which we are going to build and is real? Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
It's really well done. Thank you, guys. Okay, we have a water rate and general facility charge increase in stormwater, and this is Charlie. Council, if you want, I can draft up a resolution regarding the Radiant project and bring it forward to you if you wanted to go that route.
I mean, the previous council passed one. We could just bring that
You
one
signed
back.
on to a letter. You didn't pass a formal resolution.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we can draft something up like that if you want. Okay.
I have personally been opposed to it. That was prior to being on the council. I, for one, would be supportive of that. I have made my personal opinion known to the county commissioners, the prior 3 county commissioners. I
Okay,
have
so
reached
let me-
out.
Let me work on it,
Yeah.
Rick, and I'll start floating a draft. Okay. All right, Charlie, go ahead.
All right. I'll try and run through this pretty quickly and answer any questions you have. This is mostly a refresher and a primer for next week where we have a public hearing on the rate increases scheduled. And so for the public hearing, I wasn't planning to go through this presentation again, but if you guys would want to shorten the night, I can go through the presentation at the public hearing next week. So I kind of leave it up to your discretion, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Regarding notice on the public hearing, I think I opened up my utility bill that went out yesterday. There was nothing was there a reference to it in the Survey Monkey box?
I'm not 100% sure. I know the.
Yeah, and my scan of these numbers look like numbers you presented before.
Yep.
They are
If you could just
consistent.
show what has changed from the last time,
Okay.
if any.
Yeah, so I'll jump kind of to the conclusion.
Thank you.
So as we discussed prior in February with the water rates, we're proposing a 6% monthly rate increase. and that'd be effective July 1st. For the general facility charge, that's the water connection charge, we're proposing a one-time $800 increase. And for the stormwater general facility charge, we're proposing a one-time $200 increase.
The 800 charge, what is that charge now?
So our current water general facility charge is $5,829 per ERU, and it would increase it to $6,600.
So we're still in the ballpark with everybody else.
Yep, so we're right in the average.
Yep.
And it's a one-time fee, and what it does is it passes the cost of our capital program to our development community instead of onto our ratepayers.
I would just suggest bringing your presentation to the public hearing, because those that didn't pay attention before may pay attention then, and I think you well outlined the reasons why we would want to do this. So it'd probably be a good idea to outline them again for those newly listening. But they all made sense to me, and I think they'll make sense to others, so.
Why don't you skip to the numbers and then we'll go, we can be done and then, yeah, okay.
Yep. Yeah, so any questions? And then I'd say that we've had some amendments in the PMC. They were in the packet. And there's a lot of red strike in, strike out, but all of it's updating the current rates as of January 1st, 2025 with and to reflect the changes that we're proposing. So
Seems okay to me.
Charlie, when's the last time we increased rates?
good question. I believe water was increased in 2015, 2016.
6 to 8 years ago.
Been quite a while.
Yeah, the stormwater general facility charge hasn't been increased since it was implemented, and that was in 2016.
Okay.
So it's been, yeah,
All right.
6 to 8 years.
Sounds reasonable to me.
And we built in a CPI inflator, did we not?
We did, yes.
What year, Diana? Remind me, because that didn't exist before.
Yeah, it was before I was here in 2014, I believe.
Okay.
So
That was a long time ago, Ed. Long time ago.
We do have annual cost of living inflators. So when we say we haven't raised the water rates, we raise them every January 1st based on the CPI.
yeah, we adjust them with CPI.
Okay, so, thank you, Charlie, and we'll look forward to the public hearing. Okay, continued questions and concerns of the council, anything? Remembering that we have an executive session, what?
Just a little
Go.
baby question. When is that port meeting, the joint
The 28th,
of this month?
yeah.
Great.
Okay. And then, future agenda items, Rhiannon's not here, so we'll keep going on. Continue.
Unamas, on future, and up to your discretion, Mayor, either study session or, yeah, it's not a business agenda. Dave Waterhouse, our new Marine Police Officer. Two of us now, Doug Tabor and myself, have done the boat along.
Yeah, is that interesting?
And it's more than interesting. And so if we could invite him back
Okay,
for a discussion on what we're seeing on the water,
that would be a good thing to have with the port.
that'd be excellent. And, just as an appetizer, most of the boats typically we see out there are not visitors. They're transient.
Oh, I know.
And we have become the
that.
bay of choice in a lot of the Puget Sound for a number of reasons.
Yeah, I know that. We know, trust me. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we can do that with the port, okay? All right, continue comments for citizens. Any comments from citizens tonight? You should go to bed. All right, mayor and council comments, any?
I'm just gonna say that I will be traveling at the end of the month and I will miss the port meeting and possibly a couple council meetings, but I don't
Okay,
know how it'll
just let me
work
know
out yet.
dates. Yeah, all right. So we are adjourning into an executive session at the second floor conference room, conference room. For 20 minutes, and we will adjourn out of the meeting. Can I have a motion for adjournment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay.